Let's go back with Curtis first. You and Vincent eat slowly here. Parker said, I'm with you. Get up immediately, too. Was held down by Qingqing's shoulder and sat back. That's what you eat. Definitely not full. Come back when you're full. Parker could only watch silently. The back of Qingqing and Curtis's departure. They don't know what they're talking about. They all looked very happy. Suddenly, Curtis turned back stealthily. He smiled defiantly at Parker. It's like saying you're dead, leopard. This poor leopard. I wanted to take my daughter-in-law out for a campfire dinner. Exclusive access to the world for two. Who wants Qingqing to hold Curtis's hand all the way? Instead, he became the superfluous one. And that's not all. Qingqing invited a Sven white tiger halfway. Outcome: the romantic world of two people has become a party of four. In the end, Qingqing and Curtis went home first, leaving behind a leopard that was so angry that it bit its clothes. There's also a white tiger with envious eyes. Parker's bowels were repentant. The abominable said that the serpent could not be allowed to come. Now it's all right. Not only lost the opportunity to be alone with Qingqing, but it fulfilled him. Just when Parker was stunned, Vincent stood up and said, Take good care of your female. I'm afraid that the hobby of cultivation is not pure. Parker said unconcernedly, You can rest assured that no one will have a chance. Qingqing said, They want me and the snake beast. No one wants it. After saying that, Parker picked up one leg and began to brisk himself. Vincent couldn't see what Parker's reaction was talking about. Just glanced at it from afar. Qingqing's back is getting farther and farther away. So I don't have a chance anymore. After Vincent left, Parker's mind kept echoing Vincent's words. The purpose of cultivation is not pure. What Vincent means, is it because Qingqing has a Sven partner? Don't you want to win over Sven Shotsai to pursue Qingqing? But it's just the Wolf Clan's brains. It's impossible to think so much. And Jiro has to pay for the happiness of the male. He must have pursued Qingqing because he really liked it. Meanwhile, Qingqing and Curtis see walk on their way home. Romantic moonlight. Starry sky. It is more and more charming to line Qingqing. Curtis looked at the girl beside him. A satisfied smile is revealed. How good it would be to go on with Xiaobai like this. Suddenly, Curtis put his hand on Qingqing's waist. Then he hugged Qingqing horizontally. Qingqing's hand naturally wrapped his arms around Curtis's neck. But he still wanted to go down and go on his own. However, the head was pulled back by Curtis, attached to the chest. Here Curtis's heart beating wildly. Qingqing blushed unconsciously. Subsequently, the heart also beat faster to the rhythm of Curtis. Qingqing leaned on Curtis's shoulder. Whisper if you're bored today. Didn't listen to you say a few words. Curtis didn't answer directly. Rhetorical question, if I say yes. Is it not that I will not participate in the future? Qingqing hesitated for a while and said, I still want to go. It's only once a year. Curtis said firmly, You go, I'll go. Suddenly, Qingqing couldn't help but yawn. It wasn't that sleepy. Shook in Curtis's arms for a while. I was so sleepy. Curtis bowed her head and whispered softly that if you were sleepy, go to sleep. Looked at by Qingqing, who was sleeping peacefully in his arms. Curtis felt as if he had the whole world. A satisfied smile on his face. Curtis walked into the courtyard door with Qingqing in his arms. The cooing of the short-winged bird woke by Qingqing. There are several different species of cubs, slowly approaching the short-winged bird. By this time, the short-winged bird had gone out of its body with fright. Curtis gave them a threatening look. The group of skinny boys were immediately so frightened that they ran away. Qingqing couldn't help but laugh. Those guys probably want to eat short-winged birds. Goo goo, I'm so hungry. Give me something to eat. The short-winged bird cooed and chirped. Qin Fei pounced. Qingqing screamed in fright. As a result, the poor short-winged bird flew halfway. Grabbed by a big hand, the The short-winged bird's eyes widened in fright. The next second, he fainted directly. Qingqing looked at Curtis blankly. Speaking of short-winged birds, they are all stunned by you. A hint of guilt flashed in Curtis's eyes. Lower your eyes. But he scares you. Qingqing suddenly felt embarrassed. Stammered to him that he might just be hungry. The short-winged bird rolled its eyes. Seeing that the soul is about to fly away, Qingqing stared at the short-winged bird with wide eyes. Ask what he should be fed. Curtis looked at the lovely Qingqing, laughing and saying that he eats everything. Qingqing's first thought was to give him rice. Soon gave up. No, rice is too precious here. Suddenly, Qingqing thought of a good idea again. He happily told Curtis if he would let him eat the fish. The lively and playful celebration in front of me. Curtis couldn't help but reach out. Pampering his head is good. Let's go catch fish for him. Qingqing took out the fish basket. I saw Curtis holding the constellation's clothes. Qingqing's mind was racing. What does catching fish have to do with clothes? Did he stammered and asked me, aren't we going to catch fish? Curtis's eyes fell to the ground. Whisper that I'll catch the fish. Qingqing reacted. She wants to take a bath every time she finishes grilling meat. Curtis already knows what he's used to. She shyly hugged her clothes and ran away. That's a bother for you. I want to take a shower. It's summer. The lotus flowers in the river are blooming just right. Qingqing found a place with lotus leaves to shelter. The smell of barbecue is being cleaned. Suddenly, a weed came up under his feet. Qingqing felt a restraint under his feet. There was a thunderous sound. Curtis heard movement. Probe from behind the tree asked Bai. What's wrong? Qingqing hurriedly hugged himself with his hands. Turned around and stirred up. The splash is okay. It's okay. You don't steal. Seeing Qingqing so excited, Curtis was helpless. I had to turn around and say okay. It's just that the more the water and grass under Qingqing's feet struggle, the tighter they wrap up. It's as if you're consciously dragging it down. Qingqing suddenly lost his balance. He threw his head up and fell. Then there was a plop. The whole person was taken down. Qingqing struggled underwater, choked on a lot of water. He couldn't breathe anymore. Consciousness gradually blurred. Soon Qingqing was no longer able to struggle. Let your body float in the water. He struggled to keep his eyes open. Am I going to die like this? In a daze. It was as if he saw a hand reaching out towards him. But he couldn't hold it anymore. Let the eyelids sink down. Curtis is you. Curtis looked at Qingqing, who was unconscious. Crazy shouting his name. He jerked out his tongue. Send Qingqing a handful of beads to himself. Curtis hugged the unconscious girl. Close your eyes and slowly approach. Bai, you can't have anything. Absolutely not. Curtis's lips were covered with a cool, cold lip flap. Give him little by little the air in his lungs. Qingqing felt the familiar breath. Slowly lift your eyelids. I saw the person in my heart appearing in front of me. He couldn't help but close his eyes. Greedy enjoyment comes with love. All shyness and reserve are behind me at this moment. Qingqing took the initiative to wrap around Curtis's neck. Warmly respond to the kiss of a lover. I don't know how long it took. Parker pushed the door open. Happy shouting Qingqing. I am back. The next second, saw Qingqing lying in Curtis's arms. He slammed angrily on the doorframe. When I saw Qingqing's sick and weak look, Parker was furious. What did you do to Qingqing? He jumped to his feet. Become a cheetah. Pounced on Curtis. Parker eats the full meal. The moment I came back and pushed the door open, I saw my beloved girl looking weak and powerless, carried in Curtis's arms. Parker immediately snapped into his heart, jumped, transformed into a cheetah and pounce on Curtis. However, the next second was directly subdued by Curtis's snake-tail head. Immediately, his facial features hit the ground and fell to the ground. Parker immediately looked at Qingqing pitifully for comfort. Is still kneeling on the ground and crying coquettishly. Look at the big bag on Parker's head. Qingqing was a little distressed. Curtis, don't hit him. Curtis gently said he was too noisy. Then he picked up Qingqing and walked to the bedroom. He turned to Parker and said, Qingqing, drowning while taking a bath. It's weak now. Parker anxiously said that he also had to take care of Qingqing. Curtis immediately cast a cold gaze. No need for Parker to dare to step forward again. Stopped at the door. Curtis continued to walk inside with Qingqing in his arms. It's been another morning. Qingqing opened his eyes in defeat. He noticed that a large face was approaching him. Qingqing instinctively reacted and punched and kicked the man. Qingqing is me. Voices are heard. Bai Qingqing stopped what he was doing. It's just that the foot is still on Parker's face. Parker, what are you doing with me so close? Parker saw Qingqing calm down, hug him, and said, Qingqing, are you all right? You've been asleep for a long time. Just had a fever all the time. It scared the hell out of me. Qingqing pushed Parker away and asked again. I'm fine. What were you doing? Parker gently touched Qingqing's head. Explained, I want to see if your fever has subsided. Tenderness in the face of Parker. Qingqing couldn't help but feel his heart pounding. He hurriedly pushed Parker's hand away, stammering and diverting the subject. What did Curtis do? Have you eaten? I'll cook for you. Parker also had a look on his face when he saw Qingqing's shyness. Red heartbeat, isn't that so cute? She knelt down in front of Qingqing, happily shaking his head and tail. Curtis kept watch over you all night last night. Just went to cook. Curtis was holding a bowl as he spoke. Lifted the curtain and walked in. He said softly, drink some water first when you wake up. You can eat later. Qingqing took the water and said that I have worked hard for you. Curtis seemed unusually happy today. As long as you're okay. Qingqing suddenly recalled what happened after falling into the water yesterday. She even responded to Curtis's kiss on her own initiative. Qingqing was so ashamed that he threw himself into the bowl. I choked on it. Parker hurriedly said anxiously, you slow down. Curtis is ready to step forward. Qingqing hurriedly smiled awkwardly at me. I'm fine. Then he changed the topic and said the right thing. Vincent gave me a green stalk last night. Both men looked at Qingqing in surprise. Greenstem Parker couldn't help but frown. Vincent was able to hunt herbivores on his own. That's pretty damn. See the excited reaction of the two. Qingqing grabbed the animal skin in a panic. So what the hell does the greenstem do? Is it valuable? Parker's encyclopedia is immediately live. Normal chlorine can increase the life of orcs by 10 years. Chlorine can only be obtained from the herbivorous beast. Generally, only the Formon can compete with it. But a little carelessly, I'll give it back to him. Parker didn't finish his sentence. Was interrupted by Curtis's breeze. The green smoke of this leopard was rising. Bastard, wait for me to finish. Curtis, have you ever eaten chlorine? By the way, I don't know how old you are. I've only eaten a few of them. Age words. I'm about 40 years old. Curtis's voice fell. Parker and Bai Qingqing collapsed at the same time. I've only eaten a few of them. I am envious, jealous, and hateful. But Qingqing thinks about more than 40. Curtis is so old. Older than my dad. It's time for lunch. Parker looked at the pig in front of him. The saliva of meat gluttony flows. It's so fragrant. Qingqing really doesn't have eyes to see. He simply handed the chopsticks to Parker. Parker unceremoniously took a bite. The taste of marinated pork. Let a pair of leopard eyes stare around. Oh my God, I thought you grilled meat and fish hot pot. It's the best. I didn't expect there to be anything even better. Curtis, who was on the side, listened to the movement over there. His face gradually became gloomy. He clenched his fists angrily. The branch in his hand was broken into several pieces in an instant. If it weren't for the fact that he had saved Xiaobai, I'm afraid that Xiaobai will be sad. He was kicked out a long time ago. Curtis thought about it. The mood is getting low. Suddenly, I heard familiar footsteps behind me. Gladdy handed a piece of meat to Curtis. You taste it too. I deliberately didn't put the chili peppers this time. Worried about Curtis, afraid of hot white. Qingqing also put it to his mouth and blew it intimately, looking at the considerate and gentle Qingqing in front of him. Curtis's eyes couldn't hide the love. Don't wait for Qingqing to blow it out. She stepped forward and took a bite of the pork on her chopsticks. Then close your eyes and savor it. Qingqing looked at the handsome face that was so close in front of him. Can't help blushing and heart beating. Flood nymphomaniac. Curtis swallowed the meat into his stomach. I opened my eyes and said it was delicious. Qingqing was afraid that Curtis would see her nymphomaniac. Hurriedly turned around and said that there were steamed eggs. I made it for 3 people. The taste is very light. You should be able to eat it too. Qingqing brought the eggs to the table. Steamed eggs look smooth on the surface. No blistering. It seems to be a success. Curtis had never seen anything like it. He couldn't help but want to take a sip, then dig up a piece with a wooden spoon. Take a closer look, but it can still be in this form. It's amazing and I can't wait to put it in my mouth. The warm, creamy egg turns into a soft ball between the lips and teeth. Runs down the throat. Curtis only felt a tingling in his scalp. The soul is instantly freed from the body. There was a cheer. After a sip, Curtis picked up the bowl. Knock knock drink knock knock. Qingqing saw Curtis's reaction. It's so much fun that you like. There is also Parker in the pot. When Yin was in a hurry, in order to make Qingqing eat more, he was reluctant to take an extra bite. Qingqing, you eat. Bai Qingqing licked the corners of his mouth and said, I'm full. Parker said, I'll eat it. Hurriedly ran to pick up the pot. I muttered in my heart that I couldn't get a cheap stinky snake hand. Curtis's eyes swept coldly. Immediately turned into a snake's tail. Snatched the pot from Parker's hand. Parker's eyes suddenly burst into anger and stinking snakes. That's mine. Curtis returned the hand to his chest. Hold the steamed egg in front of you with the snake's tail. A look of tsundere that you can do to me. Parker got up angrily. I'm going to grab it back. Qingqing's voice sounded Curtis behind him. It's rare to have a favorite food. Don't rob you of meat. Parker didn't snort angrily. If he doesn't eat it, he is just reluctant to eat pork. It's too rare for him to leave it to Qingqing. After lunch in the afternoon, suddenly it rained heavily. Qingqing was leaning on the windowsill and looking out. It's raining heavily. Obviously, the sun was so big before. Suddenly, I heard Parker grumbling behind him. The fruit of this stinky wolf beast also stinks. Qingqing, don't eat it. As he spoke, he spat the flesh of his mouth on the ground. Qingqing looked at the sour Parker helplessly. This leopard has been known to have sent fruit since he was repaired. That's all it has been. It seems that in the future, even if it is something that someone else forcibly stuffs, I had to return it. I really want to travel back into this world. When you go to the toilet and ask for directions, you can gain a teenager's heart. This orc is the little prince of the wolf clan. Only glanced at her more when Qingqing asked for directions. I fell in love with Bai Qingqing deeply. Then he launched a fierce offensive against Qingqing. First of all, the lean is a rare wild boar. Take advantage of Qingqing under the tree. Cool neutral. And immediately sent a delicious wild fruit show. As soon as I saw Qingqing, I blushed unconsciously. This one is for you to eat. But Shio's pursuit also gave Qingqing a headache. Because there are already 2 at home. A man who fights all day long. If you have another one, you won't be able to live this day. No, he's racking his brains, thinking about how to refuse the enthusiasm of cultivation in the future. Behind him, Curtis's call to Qingqing was heard. Come and sleep. This was followed by Parker's scramble for Qingqing, not to be outdone. Sleep with me. Qingqing doesn't want to provoke anyone. Hurriedly excused me from sleeping. I want to see you. Suddenly, there was a thunderclap outside the house. Qingqing hurriedly turned his head to look. I saw a flash of lightning in the sky. Make the night sky as bright as day. Right at the tail end of the lightning, Qingqing saw a light brighter than lightning. Take a closer look. It turned out to be a huge white tiger. The fear of the beast made Qingqing tremble. A scream followed. The two men in the room heard the sound. Coincidentally rushed towards Qingqing. Curtis hugged Qingqing into his arms. The axe comforted and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Parker vigilantly probed the outside of the house. Qingqing has not yet recovered from Peking opera. She trembled and pointed out, said that there seemed to be something outside. Parker leaned out of the window to look. There was really a person lying down. "I'll go out and have a look." Qingqing worriedly told Parker to be careful. Then he turned his head and hid in Curtis's broad chest. Curtis looked at Qingqing. His eyes were full of distress. "Don't be afraid. I will always be there for you." Parker walked outside, seeing a man lying on the ground. A look of surprise. It turned out to be this guy. "Curtis and Qingqing are in the house." Parker's voice is heard. "For the sake of you giving me a filter, shelter you from the rain." Qingqing hurriedly lifted the curtain and asked Parker, "What filters?" Half the story. Qingqing saw it. Parker stood in the doorway with Vincent on his back. Vincent's eyes were closed. It seems to have been unconscious, striking blue wrinkles and firm abs. There is no shelter underneath. Qingqing's eyes were so hot that they were round. The crimson of his cheeks instantly jumped up. He hurriedly turned away from Vincent's naked body. "Is it Vincent? Was he struck by lightning?" Curtis looked down at Qingqing, explained that he was poisoned. At this time, Vincent's face turned pale. There was not a trace of blood. He has fallen into a severe coma. Qingqing hurriedly asked Curtis if you can detoxify. Curtis looked down in thought, explained that I could only detoxify me. "I remember. He is a female rescued from the scorpion's stray beasts. He should be scorpion venom. I can survive until now. It shows that internal poisoning is not fatal." Qingqing continued. "But he fainted. Everyone was in the house at this time. Vincent was poisoned. Why did he run out? Someone must have tried to harm him." Parker on the side disagreed. "Who's going to hurt the Sven beast? This is the honor of the city of 10,000 beasts." Suddenly, all three of them looked out of the house. Curtis said alarmedly that there were a lot of orcs out there. Qingqing frowned. "I think it's certainly not a coincidence. Hide it." At this time, outside the house, two wolves were walking menacingly towards this direction. Their eyes sparkled, a momentum that is determined to win. Behind the two wolves stood a humanoid orc. Then there was two taps of a hand on the door. Glad to open the door, rubbing his eyes and pretending to wake up from his sleep. "It's you. Are you okay at such a late hour?" A rainy night of thunder and lightning. A pack of ferocious wolves is slowly approaching a house. The wolves stopped at the door. Behind him was a humanoid orc. Then a hand knocked on the door. The door creaked open from the inside. I saw Qingqing rubbing his eyes and coming out of it. "See someone coming." A hint of surprise flashed in Qingqing's eyes. "It was you. Is there anything wrong with you at this late hour?" The camera turned. I saw the wolf orc Hugh standing at the door with a blushing face. He waved his hand and whispered hello. Qingqing was suddenly shocked by something. His face changed suddenly. It turned out to be Curtis and Parker coming out. Parker said unceremoniously, "What are you doing here?" I muttered in my heart, "Just because you want to grab the female with me. This snake will one day make you look good." Hugh explained that something was passing by. "Have you seen Vincent /?" Parker held his hand in the doorway, trying to control the urge to kick the wolf beast out. Qingqing hurriedly cooperated and looked left and right. Pretending to be worried, I asked what was wrong. No one came out of such a heavy rain. Xiao went on to say that he had gone mad. When King Yuan treated him, suddenly rushed out and bit a lot of people. Meanwhile, another fierce flash of lightning streaked across the night sky. Xiao said softly to Qingqing that you are fine. I continued to look for him. Hugh stood in the rain, Behind him was a pack of wolves that roared in a low voice. Suddenly, Hugh's eyes became sharp. It's like a different person. He turned to the wolves. It was the rain that washed away his smell. We continued our search. Curtis and Qingqing stood in the doorway. Watched the wolves leave. Qingqing was a little worried about whether Vincent was really crazy. Parker looked at the unsightly tiger beast. Males don't die so easily. But I agreed to send her back. This is our home. Hear Parker's words. Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief, and it was good that he wouldn't die. Let him spend the night with us. Tomorrow he won't wake up. Go and inform his family again. Qingqing's words made Parker instantly powerless. The leg that had just been grabbed smashed straight to the ground. What left him for the night? Qingqing had no choice but to turn her head and ask Curtis's opinion. The red-haired man immediately said to leave him here. Go to bed and finish. Curtis put his arm around Qingqing and walked to the bedroom. Qingqing also did not forget to remind Parker to add more firewood. Keep Vincent warm. Parker's heart. In an instant, it was like being strafed into a sieve by machine gun fire. He sat on his knees, called Qingqing's name over and over again. Qingqing, how can you be so cruel to me? Early the next morning, the rain was still falling. Parker's shouting could be heard inside the house. Wake up and get out. Don't look at me, female sleeping. At this time, Qingqing opened the curtain. Parker, you keep your voice down. Curtis was still sleeping. Suddenly, he looked up and saw Vincent, who was already able to sit up. He said with concern that you are finally awake. Who knew that Vincent stood up when he saw Qingqing's excitement? The first skirt slid down Vincent's thighs and fell to the ground. Qingqing was stunned again. Don't move. Parker sped to protect Qingqing, glaring at Vincent. However, it was directly ignored. Vincent's gaze was always on Qingqing. You saved me. Thank you, Qingqing, a little embarrassed. Busy, it was Parker who got you in. Don't just thank me. Vincent's tone waned. Insist that you are a female. They all listened to you. Thankfully, helpless. I had no choice but to respond to this grievance. Well, how did you faint outside yesterday? Yesterday Wolf Show came looking for you. Shame also said that you were crazy. Vincent heard this. The light of the eyes immediately becomes plump. The silver eyes were icy. King Yuan wants to kill me. Today's Wansho City is already in undercurrent. The youngest of the highly sought-after four when beasts was hunted down. And who was behind it? It turned out to be King Yuan, who praised him on stage yesterday. So, when Vincent finished saying that it was King Yuan who wanted to kill himself, Parker angrily said that this was impossible. King Yuan is the smartest person in Wansho City. This is a self-philosophical translation. There was no reason for him to do that. And yesterday, he praised you. Vincent's eyes were lowered, said in a heavy tone. That's what makes him great. He wanted to kill me, but he still holds me. So naturally I don't die. There will be people who doubt him. Parker's heart suddenly hangs. The Yuan clan is smart. Can't guess, so this race can't be trusted. Come to think of it, Parker looked back at the girl behind him. The hanging heart was strengthened again. Qingqing is also the original family. So it won't. Then, Parker tries to unravel Vincent. These are all your guesses. Too sensitive. Unexpectedly. Qingqing said, I think what Vincent said makes a lot of sense. Parker looked helpless. Qingqing, where the hell are you standing? Qingqing was curious about Vincent's next plan. I heard Vincent say that he wanted to go back to the Tiger Clan first. Qingqing immediately asked if it would be dangerous. Your scorpion venom is not yet cured. Vincent walked to the door. Look outside. The venom of the scorpion is almost gone. I will not give the medicine in He Yuan Wang. At this time, a disdainful smile appeared on the corner of Vincent's mouth. But his eyes are extremely fierce and want to kill me. It's not that easy. After that, Vincent turned into a tiger, walked steadily towards the outside of the house. When he reached the door, He jumped up, rushed into the rain. He took 2 steps, and then suddenly stopped. He looked back. At this time, Qingqing was standing at the door and looking at himself worriedly. The white tiger looked at the girl quietly. I don't want to leave for a long time. It's like imprinting this scene in your eyes, engraved in the heart. Then he turned back and walked away. Leave a gray figure in the rain. Suddenly, Parker hugged Bai Qingqing from behind. Put your head on his shoulder. Don't always be nice to males. They'll be misunderstood. Qingqing pushed the leopard's head away. If you don't have a good feeling, you know love. Oh, I care about your family's business. You should tell your family about it. Let them be on guard. What if Hades picks a soft persimmon instead? Parker hugged Qingqing again. There was a domineering tone in his tone. The rain will be a little lighter later. I went to inform my mother. Then he picked up Qingqing's face and wiped it. Said with palpitations, the black spots have all fallen. I was secretly glad in my heart. It's good that Vincent didn't see it just now. At this time, Qingqing was baring his teeth at the mirror. Thinking about the toothbrush I brought with me, I brushed my bald hair. There are no replacements here. I don't know what to do. Suddenly, Parker came up and asked Qingqing curiously, "What are you looking at?" Qingqing suddenly thought of something. How orcs clean their teeth. Qingqing's eyes stared straight at Parker. Parker loved being watched. Immediately burst into laughter. Qingqing only focused on Parker's teeth. While Parker's teeth were so white and clean, she couldn't help but cast a look of envy. Parker, your teeth are so white. What is it cleaned with? You know that there is no toothpaste in the orc world. How does a toothbrush clean your teeth? Qingqing looked at Parker's white teeth. A wave of envy. Parker, your teeth are so white. How is it cleaned? Parker's heart was overjoyed. Qingqing likes my teeth. Parker explains that we orcs have 2 forms. The beast form is the size of the teeth. The humanoid is small in teeth. We clean our teeth and change shape a few times. Food scraps on the teeth are gone. Yin, Qingqing opened Parker's mouth. Take a closer look. I see. And what about females? How they clean their teeth? According to his observations, the females here do not transform, because it was found during the bonfire. Thin people are only washed when they are adults. And he had seen little girls of a few years. Parker continued, I don't know. My mom used a stinging fruit to clean her teeth. We don't have thornwood here, though. Thornwood at home. It was brought to my mother by my father from a distant tribe. Parker looked at the pretty face that was close at hand. The heart beat suddenly. His cheeks turned red unconsciously. That pink lip that moved. Make Parker's heart beat fast and fast. I can't breathe. He rushed out of the house in a panic. Qingqing, you wait for me. I'll go back to my father's house and pick up one for you. Outside the Graham was still halfway through Qingqing's words. The leopard had disappeared from sight. He sighed helplessly. Forget about him. There's still a lot of work to be done today. At this time, Qingqing was weaving bamboo baskets. Suddenly, she heard someone calling outside the house. Are you there? Bai Qingqing suddenly became alert. It's the voice of a male. The male outside the door continued to say that I had come in. But at this time, there were no black spots on Qingqing's face. It's not good if it's seen. Hearing this, he was pushed away. Just as the man was about to come in, Qingqing held the stick and screamed in fear. Don't come in. The people who went out stopped at the door. Just a bag of things came in through the crack in the door. I stepped on the fruit today. I sent it to you. During the rainy season, the fruit will rot. I didn't have much chance to eat this year. I was glad I saw the man's face through the crack in the door. I was shocked. It was he who saw the correction standing in the doorway in the rain. No, I don't. Don't send anything to me. I won't accept you. And you do. My partner will be jealous. But Shame has no intention of backing down. I want to be nice to you. If you don't want it, throw it away. But I'll keep sending you things. Qingqing looked at what was handed in. He hesitated. Why do you bother to talk halfway? Curtis flashed viciously from behind him. Qingqing suddenly felt bad. Curtis, you don't. didn't wait for Qingqing to finish. Curtis disappeared with Hugh outside the door. The entrance to the river. Xiao incarnated as a beast and struggled to survive in the river. Curtis stood half-naked on the riverbank. Indifferent looking. It's as if the struggling wolf beast has nothing to do with itself. As a matter of fact, underwater, Curtis's snake tail is haunting the wolf. Drag him down. At this time, Curtis's eyes were full of murderous intent. The wolf beast repeatedly courted Qingqing. Has already touched his bottom line. Suddenly, Qingqing ran over, pulling Curtis's arm. In a hurry, he persuaded Curtis not to kill. Curtis turned his head. His eyes looked at Bai Qingqing coldly. This wolf beast fell in love with Bai Qingqing. Sent a letter to Qingqing 3 times and twice. On this day, he braved the torrential rain and brought wild fruits to Qingqing. After Qingqing's verbal refusal, he was still unwilling to give up. Finally angered Curtis, who protected his wife like his life. He used the snake's tail to imprison the wolf beast underwater. Wanted to drown him. Suddenly, Qingqing ran out and persuaded Curtis not to kill. Curtis looked squarely at the girl in front of him. He clearly rejected the wolf beast. Why stop me from killing him again? But seeing that the girl's eyes were so determined, he compromised anyway. He turned his head. The anger in his eyes seemed even more terrible than before. He doesn't like Qingqing always protecting other males. But he didn't want to see him sad. Still let go of the tail that strangled the wolf beast. But the death penalty is exempt. There is no escaping the sin of life. In the end, Curtis still used the snake's tail fiercely. Pumped on the wolf beast. The wolf beast was slammed to the ground, curled up and spat out a puddle of water. Then he stood up tremblingly, looked up at Bai Qingqing on the side. At this time, Bai Qingqing looked at the ground with a look of self-reproach. It's all because of myself. Now his ignorance is the best option. Hugh's eyes were full of anticipation when he looked at Qingqing. He raised his head with difficulty. I hope to get a little attention from the girl. But Qingqing just twisted his head a little. He told himself not to be soft-hearted. Don't give Hugh a glimmer of hope. The wolf beast lowered its head in disappointment. Then he dragged his injured body away in embarrassment. Qingqing hung her head. I never glanced at the wolf. He just hoped that Xiao would be able to die at this point. After the wolf beast leaves, Qingqing came to Curtis's side. That wolf cub is a descendant of the royal family. You killed him. We're going to be in trouble. Curtis looked ahead, said coldly, I know you almost killed you. He then sighed. Go on, but that's fine. He won't be looking for me again. Curtis repeated. There was hostility in the tone. Qingqing was shocked. Misspoken. Curtis was jealous again. On the occasion of returning home. Parker has returned with the thorn fruit. Qingqing picked it up and looked at it curiously. This is the thorn fruit. Then he put the little fruit of the thorn on his teeth. Carefully brushed up. Only brush for a while. It's full of bubbles. It's even lighter than toothpaste. Qingqing looked in the mirror. I'm happy to say it's really easy to use. The teeth are much cleaner. Curtis suddenly said, I've seen this fruit. Qingqing asked excitedly where it was. Far from it. Curtis smiled lightly. Not far away. I'm going to dig it for you. With that, he walked out the door. Qingqing worriedly said that it was going to rain heavily. Don't go. Wait until the rain stops. Don't wait for him to finish. Curtis had already swam out in a hurry. The night was already deep. The rain outside was getting heavier and heavier. Parker was standing in the doorway, ready to close. Qingqing said worriedly, wait. Curtis hasn't come back yet. Parker still slammed, mercilessly closed the door. That guy must have gone digging for the thorns. Parker was a little angry when he said this. It's obviously something he flatters Qingqing. Was preempted by Curtis. Hearing this, Qingqing stopped what he was doing. With a worried look, they all said don't go. It is dangerous to enter the mountains when it rains. Parker immediately rushed over. Hugged Qingqing and comforted her. Don't worry. He has always lived in the mountains. It's no wonder if something happens. Let's talk about it. Parker happily hugged Qingqing. Finally, the two of us were left in the house. I'm going to sleep with you in my arms. Finally, there were only the two of us left in the house. I'm going to sleep with you in my arms. At this time, the happiness on Parker's face was about to overflow. As soon as I heard sleep, Qingqing's immediately alert arms were protected in front of his chest. But I'm still bleeding. Hear this? Parker's golden eyebrows furrowed. With a sad face, he said that he blamed the snake beast. Hey, I'm not good. If I didn't give you the medicine in the first place, it's time for the child to be born. So far, Qingqing felt that he should no longer hide Parker. Actually, I'm not pregnant. But Parker was completely unconvinced. Didn't conceive a boy. How can you bleed after drinking the medicine? Don't lie to me. Qingqing looked at Parker. Explained seriously. I didn't tell you. Do I come here every month? It's estrus. It's true. However, Parker said stupid things again. You say that it makes the males even crazier. You know? You can give birth to many babies every year. When the time comes, you'll be a tribe and a special cub. Parker's words made by Qingqing's face turned pale in an instant. Yes, how did he not think of this stubble? Take the tribe's hunger and thirst for reproduction addiction. With the greedy heart of the Yuan king, he was most likely imprisoned, reduced to a fertility tool. The more Qingqing thought about it, the more scared he became. The body couldn't help but tremble slightly, seeing Qingqing's face change abruptly. Parker was nervous. Qingqing, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. He put Qingqing on the haystack. Inquiries of concern. Is it that my stomach hurts again? Qingqing looked at Parker with tears in her eyes. The mouth opened and opened. Finally spit out the voice Parker. What I say is true, but I don't want to have children. Qingqing's words surprised Parker. She looked at Qingqing and froze. Soon came back to his senses. Hugged Qingqing tightly. Don't be afraid. I'll protect you. That's when it happened. Curtis's voice came from outside the door. I am back. The voice of Curtis coming back was heard. Qingqing's eyes overflowed with surprise. Excited, he got up and rushed out the door. Parker was left stunned. Curtis stood in the doorway. Holding a thorn with a piercing eye, he happily said Xiaobai. You see, I brought it to you. Halfway through the conversation, seeing Qingqing's expression, he immediately stopped. See, Curtis. Qingqing couldn't hold back any longer. I cried in fear. Curtis, you're back. Curtis's face changed. Is it that stupid leopard bullying you? As he spoke, he rushed over to clean up Parker. Qingqing hurriedly stopped Curtis. Parker didn't bully me. You calm down. Let's go first. I'll talk to you slowly. Parker hurriedly walked out consciously. I'll go out and put it in front of the wind and fire. Qingqing told Curtis everything about it. After listening to Qingqing's words, Curtis frowned fiercely. That's not to give birth to a lot. Qingqing nodded reflexively and said yes. It took a few seconds before it felt wrong. Yes, you can have several babies a year, yes. But Curtis's tone was so disgusting. Don't horse like cubs? You don't like children. Curtis replied without thinking. I like you. I want you to give me a cub. That way you'll like me more, because of the cubs. Curtis's words made Qingqing blush instantly. That's not the point, okay? The point is that I do that every month. It would be miserable to be discovered. Curtis slowly hugged Qingqing from behind. Said softly, don't be afraid. This house is my territory. I'm not going to let anyone get close. No one will find out. Curtis's calm tone. It made Qingqing feel very relieved. The big stone in my heart was slowly put down. Suddenly, Curtis brought his mouth to Qingqing's ear. You're not bleeding. You're not bleeding. Curtis's hoarse voice was sexy. Qingqing's heart suddenly felt like a pound. Hurriedly said in a panic that it shouldn't be over yet. Don't wait for Qingqing to finish. I sniffed it when Curtis interrupted. You don't smell of blood anymore. Qingqing hurriedly turned around. I'm not well. The words have not yet been spoken. It was blocked by Curtis's cold lips. A kiss ends. Curtis gently put Qingqing down. She stared at Bai Qingqing. The tenderness in his eyes seemed to be overflowing. Qingqing was in a mess at this time. At this time, the ear. I could only hear the sound of my own heartbeat. For the quiet thing, her instinctive fear. But I was inexplicably looking forward to it. Curtis has red eyes. It's even darker now. The incomprehensible undersight hides an endless desire for girls. Xiaobai, your expression is so cute. Make me want to have you. I don't know how long it took. Parker heard movement. Lift the curtain. The scene in front of you. The leopard lost its mind in an instant. He rushed towards Curtis like crazy. Let go of Qingqing. However, the next second was hit hard by Curtis's snake tail. Parker was seriously injured in an instant. Spit out a mouthful of brain blood. This time, Curtis did better than any time before. Parker struggled to support his trembling body with his hands. Bright red blood spat all over the ground. You beast! Parker didn't even have the strength to stand up at this point. He lifted his head with all the strength he had left, angrily accusing Curtis of not being well. That's what you did to him. What qualifications do you have to say like him? You bastard. Stay away from him. The annoyance on Curtis's face was no longer there. Instead, there was a look of astonishment. He hurriedly turned around and grabbed Qingqing's arm. I asked anxiously if anything was good. Qingqing had no choice but to tell the story. I was with you last time in the woods. The body is cold. The estrus period is delayed for many days. He returned to the tribe and drank the herbs. Let's settle it this time. Even if you were pregnant, there is a good chance that the baby will not be healthy. Kudiston froze. His face was full of self-reproach. It's all my fault. That's why Xiaobai suffered so much. Am I really not worthy of liking Xiaobai? Come to think of it, Curtis unconsciously took 2 steps back. Parker immediately stepped forward, hugged by Qingqing. Are you okay? The last estrus period ended in 5 days. This time it was actually extended to more than 10 days. It's all the snake's fault. At this time, Curtis's eyes behind him were full of guilt. I'm sorry I was too overbearing. I really just like you too much. The rainy season in Wanshou City is really dutiful. It seemed to rain every day since. Qingqing was surprised to find that the short-winged bird had laid an egg. He shouted to Parker excitedly, come as he reaches for the eggs. Caught off guard, he was pecked by a short-winged bird. Dead birds dare to peck at my family to celebrate. The old way ate you, Parker said as he pounced on the short-winged bird. As a result, he was ruthlessly pushed away by Qingqing, and he was not afraid. He doesn't dare to eat you. Poor Parker rubbed his sore back, pointing to a pile of bird droppings and complaining about Qingqing. You see his feces all over the house. Stinky to death, Qingqing looked at the guano. Immediately turned on the brain brought by the new century. A flash of inspiration. The idea was to build a shed. Oh, not the bird shed. At this time, Parker wanted to slap himself in the face and look at my mouth. Doesn't this make trouble for yourself? Just do it. Qingqing walked in front and turned back to call out to Paco. Come and take advantage of the rain yet. Let's build a shed for him. Ended up walking to the door. He saw someone he didn't expect. He was so frightened that he turned his head back. Don't let him see that I'm not black-spotted. I don't know what to do. Go deeper. The wolf beast only glanced at him more in the crowd. I fell in love with him. In order to please Bai Qingqing, he worked tirelessly, not afraid of life and death. Last time because I gave something to Qingqing. He was almost dragged into the river by Curtis and drowned. Qingqing thought he would give up. Who knew he would appear on the doorstep again? This innocent little wolf cub stared at Bai Qingqing affectionately. But the next second, Parker ran out angrily and got out of the way. I'm not afraid to just hand over a packet of things, said Qingqing's. I've heard that a lot of females get sick during the rainy season. I dug it up for him. Parker gave him a disdainful look. I have a lot of this stuff in my house. Grab your stuff and get out of here. Qingqing is afraid of causing unnecessary trouble, covering his face and saying to Hugh, "Why are you here again? Curtis is really going to kill you." However, Hugh mistakenly thinks that Qingqing cares about himself. He also said that he would avoid the snake in the future. "Say, you wolf. Ignore me. I also dare to talk to Qingqing." Parker was instantly furious. Raise your fist and give him a punch. However, he was easily dodged by Hugh. This succeeded in provoking Parker's anger even deeper. Immediately after that, Hugh bypassed Parker, dropped the bag into Qingqing's hand, and then he said that I will come to see you tomorrow. He turned around and left. Parker was genuinely offended this time. There was anger in his eyes. The next second, he immediately got up and chased out. "Dead wolf cub, you look for death. Stand still." Fortunately, Parker and Xiao are both two-dimensional beasts. It shouldn't be a loss. I didn't feel at ease. At this time, Xiao and Parker, you ran and I chased after you. It's been a long way out. Xiao thought to himself. It should have left the territory of the four-mon beast. Suddenly, a sudden break stopped in the corner. Then he turned to Parker and made an offensive stance. "Are you finally willing to fight head-on? This guy seems to be afraid of something." It's the snake beast. A wolf and a leopard stand opposite each other, ready for battle. The two beasts looked at each other with the same fierce eyes. "Come on!" Parker roared and attacked Hugh with all his might. As a result, he just rushed to the front, was kicked in the abdomen by Hugh with a scud. Parker spurted out a mouthful of blood. Then there was a bang. He fell heavily on his back. Hugh immediately took advantage of the victory and pursued him. Stepped forward and pinned Parker to the ground. Focus your strength on your right fist, on the top of Parker's crazy output. Hugh looked at Parker, thinking of Qingqing, who can't be loved. It seems to put all the resentment, all vented to this poor leopard. He grabbed Parker's throat with both hands. It looked like he was going to kill him. "I don't know how long I've been humiliated." A bruised Parker finally returns. Qingqing saw Parker from afar. He didn't know that Parker's face was rain or tears. "I just know that Parker is very unhappy right now." Qingqing hurriedly handed over the clean animal skin. "How did you just come back?" Parker saw Qingqing, immediately aggrieved Baba's complaint. "My stomach hurts. That wolf is too unkind, knowing that my belly is weak. Just hit me in the stomach," whining and straightening up the beaten blue and black abdomen. Qingqing hurriedly leaned over to check Parker's injuries. "Oh my God, it's blue and purple. It hurts when you look at it." Qingqing hurriedly brought Pakra to the haystack. "You lie down and I'll rub it for you." Parker sat obediently on the haystack. I sneered in my heart. Xiao must have thought that I was trying to cover up my ugliness. Won't show Qingqing the wound. But Qingqing is not like other females. I feel that the wounds of defeat are a shame. He's just going to hate the guy who hurt me. Suddenly, Qingqing turned around and asked, "In the end, who did you win the battle with?" Panther Beast Parker and Wolf Beast Xiao. It is also a two-pattern beast that has just become an adult. But Parker is just coming of age this year. He is only 18 years old, and Xiao is already 23 years old. I've been an adult for 5 years. The two face off. Parker naturally fell behind. Unsurprisingly, it was rubbed the ground by the repaired case. But Xiao didn't dare to kill him. Because of that case, it is completely impossible for him to pursue Qingqing. When he returned home, Qingqing curiously asked who won in the end. Parker didn't answer. Just the eyes firmly said that I would definitely defeat him. Qingqing looked at Parker. There are some worries. He won't get hurt and go to provoke repairs again. Vincennes was hunted down, yet to be clarified. It's better to stay away from them now. Qingqing patted Parker's hand. "Comfort. I believe in you. But you'd better not provoke her yet." However, Qingqing's words. But it made Parker even more determined to defeat Xiao. Qingqing may feel sorry for her. but she couldn't stand being looked down upon by her female. He grabbed Qingqing's hand and put it on his chest. I swore that I would defeat him. Qingqing was startled by Parker's tone. Hurriedly said that you don't mess around. Parker didn't want to argue too much. Stand up and say, don't worry. I'm going to build a shed. Qingqing didn't know what else to say. But I still can't stop worrying in my heart. Parker really won't go to Xiao to fight again. It was at the time when Qingqing was stunned. Parker had already set up the short-winged bird's shed. In addition, followed Qingqing's instructions. Made a graphite. Curtis suddenly appeared behind him to try. Qingqing immediately happily explained that this was graphite. I want to grind rice into flour. Make more goodies. Talking and talking. Inadvertently, he looked up and looked at Curtis. Curtis tilted his head. The transparent rainbow eyes reminded Qingqing of that night. He quickly turned his head back to Peacock. You go and light the fire first. I'll show Curtis. Pushing graphite, Qingqing held the handle and tried to push forward. You see, just push like that. But graphite is too blunt. Qingqing exerted his strength to breastfeed. The grinding disc only turned a little bit. He gritted his teeth and continued to push. Suddenly, I felt that the response was another police officer. It felt like a huge force was about to rush out. Curtis immediately appeared behind him. He said in a cold tone, forgetting what I told you. Qingqing immediately stuck out his tongue and obediently admitted his mistake. I knew. Then the two of them put their chests against their backs, grinding together intimately. I fed the leopard on the side with plenty of dog food. Parker sulked and frantically added firewood to the fire. Roast this stinky snake beast to death. Heat this stinky snake beast to death. After the unremitting efforts of the trio, the pure white rice milk finally flowed out. Qingqing shouted Parker, come and look, turn around and look at the leopard. When I saw the flames 3 feet high, I came into view. Qingqing was almost sent away by the locals. She growled Parker, are you going to burn down the house? Seeing Qingqing angry, Parker immediately turned into an obedient hug. Kneel and beg for forgiveness. Qingqing Wu. I was wrong. Qingqing took a deep breath helplessly, adjusted his emotions, and forgot it. You come and see. And we succeeded. Hearing this, Parker also breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately got up and jumped and ran towards Qingqing. Curtis on the side snorted disdainfully. Parker wasn't convinced. Mocking in his heart, he had the ability not to hide his tail. Stinky tongue. It was as if Curtis had heard Parker's heart. Also, silently replied in his heart with a stupid sentence. Qingqing excitedly hugged the rice cereal and wanted to show it. Didn't notice at all. A secret contest between two men. Parker, look. Isn't it great? After seeing rice cereal, Parker's face was incredulous. Is this really rice? You're not going to be stuck in a rock, are you? Are you going to make steamed rice? Put this soaked rice in water. Steam to a solid like egg liquid. Look at Parker as if he had never seen the world. Qingqing couldn't help but laugh out loud. All you know is steamed eggs. Not the same. There are many ways to make rice noodles. I can't help but think about it. If only Parker and Curtis. It's good to come and play in my world. Their reaction must have been superb. The joke doesn't come alive anymore. Qingqing just threw a lobster into the back basket. Snake beast and leopard beast. What is the reaction? The rain finally stopped after days. The sky gradually cleared. Qingqing stepped barefoot on the bank of the river. Get a breath of fresh air. As a result, I met Mr. Lobster. Qingqing looked at his hand. The lobster's eyes lit up suddenly. It was as if he had seen it. A pot of hot braised prawns in oil is placed in front of you. Saliva unconsciously flowed to the mouth. Delicious calling. Let Qingqing incarnate into a small motor. Run home as fast as you can. Parker, my bag. Immediately afterwards, Qingqing took out the eyeliner and drew black dots on his face. Why can't I draw it? Because I didn't close it last time. Behind him, Parker heard Qingqing muttering. Hurriedly asked what was wrong. Qingqing immediately turned around excitedly. Parker, I want to go outside and have fun. The rain suffocates me these days. Qingqing also planned to pick up lobsters. Then go to the mountains and see if there is any foam. Think of a delicious meal. Qingqing was a little overjoyed. The two men behind him both said, I want to accompany Qingqing to go together. But the problem at the moment, the liquid eyeliner is dry and can't be drawn. What can I do? Just when Qingqing was sad, a hand touched his head. I turned back. I saw Curtis come up with a doting face. Pockmark, it's not that you don't dare to go out when you take off your clothes. That being said, but Qingqing is still not at ease. He said sadly, forget it. I'm afraid. Curtis continued to comfort in a soft tone. There's no need to be afraid of me. You can't never see someone. Curtis's words made Qingqing a little moved. The man in front of her always gives her enough security. However, just when Qingqing was about to be tempted, Curtis's face changed suddenly. The red pupils glowed. Said coldly, if you like other males, I'll let him die in the next second. Qingqing touched in an instant. I just felt the hairs on my whole body stand up, stand still in place. I don't know what to do. Parker on the side saw Qingqing's strange expression. Taken aback. He didn't know what was going on either. Qingqing, let's hurry up and get out. Catch a crayfish. Bai Qingqing hurriedly squeezed out a smile and agreed. Okay, muttered in my heart. Saved, for it rained heavily for many days in a row. The river once flooded its banks. A lot of lobsters take the opportunity to travel. Qingqing looked at the lobsters all over the ground. Excited. Parker, bring the basket quickly. Parker heard Qingqing's words. Stupidly handed it to him. Qingqing took aim for a goal. Throw the lobster into the back basket. The two men looked at the lobster that had been thrown in. The four eyes widened widely. A surprise. One speechless. Their reactions, made by Qingqing, also confused for a while. What kind of expression do you have? Any questions? The next second, Parker roared. Of course there is a problem. Big problem. That's what we use to hold the cubs. Curtis behind him actually covered his ears with a premonition. Parker's heart was even more devastated. I thought Qingqing was carrying a basket today. It is to show other males. Didn't expect Qingqing to use him to load lobsters. It is said that there were 2 lobsters that were caught. Climb up in the bamboo basket. Prepare for jailbreak. Just a second before the escape, was poked back by a hand. Qingqing stretched out the finger that poked the lobster. He looked at Parker with a grin. Parker was almost stupid by the girl in front of him. Prepare a basket for your own cubs. It was actually used by him to hold lobsters. You also poke Parker and be aggrieved and angry. He looked at the crayfish in the back basket, and everything was wrong. I always feel that this is a cub of Qingqing's family. Qingqing also has a lobster companion. No, I'm going to dump it. As he spoke, Parker poured the lobster out of the back basket. The pair of lobster brothers who just tried to escape from prison finally got my wish. Just put it on. Enough lobsters have been picked up. Let's go home. Qingqing, who was fine, said and stretched out his hand to block it. But it was too late. Parker glanced around more and more, said worriedly, but you'll be laughed at by others. Qingqing hesitated. She also doesn't want to be laughed at by others. Use it if you want. Don't care about other people's eyes. Curtis continued to indulge by Qingqing as always. I saw Qingqing sigh helplessly. Forget it. Give a dog a bad name and hang him. Besides, think about it. If the same situation had been placed in her time, it's probably the equivalent of finding someone else's stroller. There's a baby lobster calling for mom. Hug it, it's scary to think about. Just when Qingqing was stunned, Parker's voice was heard. I found a food bowl. Let's go catch lobsters. You're resting on the side. Don't get caught in the lobster. The problem of catching lobsters has finally been solved. Qingqing is finally happy again. He grinned and said it didn't matter. I've been added to the experience. Parker doesn't care about baby lobsters either. Looking at Qingqing, he couldn't help but become a nymphomaniac again. At this time, the brown bear orc walked behind Qingqing. He scratched his head, asked Bai Qingqing innocently, "What do you catch lobsters for?" Qingqing turned his head when he heard this. "I saw it was a bear orc. Greet Tony politely. You caught it and ate it." The moment the orcman saw Qingqing's face. This was the first time he saw Qingqing. The face, without dark spots, penetrated into the skin. Big watery eyes. "It's beautiful, beautiful." These two words kept circling in Tony's mind. He felt as if he was sinking into a soft cloud. The body is fluttering and about to fly. But suddenly Tony's body shook. It was as stiff and cold as ice. His eyes flickered stiffly, straight to Curtis's bloodthirsty and cold beast pupils. It was as if he had seen it. The snake beast opened its mouth wide open. The next second, he was going to swallow himself alive. Tony screamed in fright and turned to run. It's like a mouse that sees a cat and sheds clouds and fog. Bai Qingqing was self-doubting. Talk to him for a long time and ignore me. Why did he suddenly run away again? Is my face so exaggerated? Fortunately, Curtis interrupted this narcissism in time. The lobster is full. We're going to mountains now. Qingqing came back to his senses, nodding happily. At this time, Parker's voice came from afar, waiting for me. I'll put the lobster back first. Qingqing is hard. He also asked him to bring out the back basket, by the way. Parker suddenly had a bad premonition. Nervously asked, "What are you going to put it with?" Qingqing immediately grinned at Parker. "Garnish with wild vegetables." Parker was dumbfounded, stunned in place. What kind of operation is this? I really didn't expect Qingqing to have a domineering skincare day. The one that moved Parker directly was called a sob. Say a good weather with a long rain and a good mood. The orcs of Wanshou City were dispatched almost all the way, poured into the streets. Qingqing was shocked by this picture. The open mouth could not be closed for a long time. It's spectacular. Suddenly, Qingqing heard a deep tiger roar. He hurriedly searched for prestige. I saw a huge tiger. On her back sat a very familiar woman with short hair. It was the white tiger behind Rosa. Could it be? I saw a sturdy white tiger lined up in the team. The scar on the left eye is unusually striking. Vincent, did he still do Rosa's mail? Then, Rosa also noticed Bai Qingqing in the crowd. Obviously, the chance encounter with Bai Qingqing surprised Rosa. Qingqing and Rosa glanced at each other. Hurriedly turned his head back. A moment to celebrate the celebration of visiting relatives. A flash of surprise flashed in Rosa's eyes. Why her face is a little different, I have to say. Today's Bai Qingqing is really good looking. Snow-like skin, beautiful facial features. It stands out in the crowd. Rosa gritted her teeth in a desperate manner. Where are the pockmarks? No one did. Parker doesn't choose me. It turned out that I was really compared. The hateful Qingqing was Rosa's blazing eyes, staring uncomfortably. I feel like I can't hide. Suddenly, she noticed that Rosa didn't seem the same today. The little yellow flower she wears on her head. Rosa must be following me. But Qingqing quickly retracted his gaze embarrassedly. Wrong. It doesn't seem good to speculate on others like this. Rosa is a great beauty in Wanshou City. How could you follow me? At this time, Rosa had also regained her self-confidence. She sneered in a weird way. Parker, looks like the female you like hasn't accepted you yet. You're not going to stay in someone's house, are you? Parker was poked in the sore spot. His face instantly became ugly. He looked ahead. Some of them are weak-hearted. But the tone was unceremoniously replied that I want you to take care of it. Followed by, Rosa muttered to Qingqing unabashedly, if I were you. And he told the serpent beast to smite him. After all, speaking of which, he changed his disgusted face again. Continue, the leopard hated it when it looked at it. But what I thought was that I wouldn't be able to get it anyway. But don't think about it. Rosa's words were an insult to Parker's. actually framed and insulted him like this in front of Qingqing. Parker's eyes flushed. "You're this suddenly." Qingqing spoke. "Who said Parker was on me?" Parker's beast print then rested his hand on his chest. Said very tenderly, "In my heart." Parker looked at Bai Qingqing. Instantly, his eyes turned red. He even began to suspect that Qingqing said this. "Aren't you ready to accept me?" Meantime, the males behind him let out envious sighs. The position of the heart represents the person you love the most. I envy him. It can be valued by such a beautiful female. If only I had me. Parker instantly felt that his life had reached its peak. Let the snot and tears flow out. Rosa was angry, turned his face towards the tiger. Still stunned. "Let's go. I'm angry with Rosa." Qingqing was so happy that she flew. "Let's go. Don't delay our time for the sake of people who don't matter." Suddenly, a three-wheeled wolf orc walked up to Rosa. "Curry favor with Rakshasas. Don't be angry. I'll help you out later." Rakshasa immediately smiled wickedly. "Yes, then I'll wait and see." Qingqing and Parker. Curtis was on his way up the hill to pick fungus. They don't yet know that the crisis is slowly approaching. Just now, there is a three-striped wolf beast in order to curry favor with the Rakshasas. Promised to help him vent. So this wolf beast must be holding back a bad idea. Here, Qingqing is still worried. Curtis wouldn't be because I said Parker's mark of the beast. The words in my heart were angry. He didn't even dare to look at Curtis now. I can only sigh bitterly. Curtis found the same look on his face. It actually evoked a shallow smile. Xiaobai was worried about whether I would be angry. He cares about me. Curtis certainly does. Qingqing didn't have Parker's beast mark on his body. Naturally, I didn't take it to heart. He bent down and gently hugged Qingqing. "The road is difficult, I will hold you." These few words, far more direct than if I wasn't angry. Qingqing's hanging heart can finally be put down. That's when it happened. A short-winged bird appears in front of three people. Qingqing saw a short-winged bird. It's like seeing a basket of eggs. He waved his little hand quickly. Catching him, Parker immediately snorted. He swooped down on the short-winged bird. At this time, the short-winged bird is still seriously looking for bugs. He didn't notice the leopard approaching behind him. Suddenly, the short-winged bird was frightened. Rounded eyes. Parker was immediately aware. The approaching wolf beast behind him. He dodged the attack with a nimble dodge. Then I heard a bang behind me. Dusty. Parker turned immediately. Be defensive. Wait for the dust to clear. Two orcs appeared in front of him. One of them was the wolf beast that asked Rosa for her life. There is also a tiger beast without animal patterns. The two are menacing. Rush towards Parker. A pair of twos and a three-striped beast. The situation is not good. The brown-haired orcs stepped forward first. He put one hand on Parker's neck. One hand raised in the air. Parker seemed to see a tiger and a jackal. Baring his fangs, he tried to tear himself apart. The cold sweat of fear flowed down instantly. Seeing that the tiger beast's fist was about to fall, Parker hurriedly stepped back to dodge. Successfully dodged the attack. Look at the carotid artery exposed in front of your eyes. Parker's pupils immediately constricted into a straight line. A loophole to exploit. Then Parker's right arm was recycled. Locked the head of the tiger orc. The tiger beast grabbed Parker's arm with both hands. I want to break free. Parker immediately saw the moment. Showing sharp fangs. Parker's eyes flashed with gold. He bit down hard at the carotid artery of the tiger beast. Then he shook his head violently. Tear off the bitten flesh. The tiger beast's arteries suddenly spurted out a stream of blood. Immediately after, a terrible scream resounded through the mountains and forests. On the other side, Rakshasa heard the sound and looked up sharply. Then I saw the orange tiger striped beast mark on my arm. Little by little, it disappears. Rakshasa suddenly became fierce. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words. You wait for me. Then get to your feet. Tell a few of the orcs around me to take me to see it. Suddenly, I saw a figure that was not moving. He turned his head to look angrily at the white tiger, who was still sitting on the ground. Vincent, you come too. Vincent looked up, slightly closed his eyes, and there was no intention of getting up. Rosa felt that authority was being challenged. He glared at Vincent viciously. Then he said coldly, "Don't forget. You promised my father about it. You want to lose the tigers." Rosa's words made Vincent's brow furrow. The secret visit is also a four-striped beast. What shelter is not sheltered? It's just a protector. Suddenly, he remembered Qingqing. But if Rosa hurts Bai Qingqing? Thinking of this, he stood up. Rosa thought proudly. Vincent did not dare to disobey himself. What about foreign beasts? Not yet a bad breed. Qingqing found that Parker's Su 9 had not returned. I was apprehensive. Curtis, let's check it out. I'm a little worried. Here's what I've found so far. The most insidious orcs in the entire comic. A trick borrowed to kill people with a knife is called a perfect fire. Because I was jealous of this tiger beast without a beast pattern. You can always be ridden in and out of the limelight by Rosa. So after Parker and Bai Qingqing made Rosa deflated, took the initiative to asking to clean up Parker and Bai Qingqing. Then shuttle through the tiger beast without a beast pattern. Let's go. But he hid behind the whole time, just as Parker was killing the tiger beast. Just watch from the sidelines. In the end, he succeeded with the help of Parker's hand. Kill this rival. At this time, Rosa saw that the companion animal pattern on her right arm disappeared, knowing that the tiger beast is dead. So he hurriedly led the crowd to find the murderer to take revenge. Qingqing is worried that Parker has not returned for a long time. He also went with Curtis to find it. Followed by, I saw a circle of orcs watching the excitement in front of me. Curtis explained that it was as if an orc had died. I saw the tiger beast on the ground roll its eyes. It's already hanging. The surrounding orcs began to talk. Suddenly, one of the orcs pointed to the tree and said, "Come down for me." There's a kind of don't run. With the direction of the finger, I saw Parker sitting on a tree branch. Parker saw Qingqing on it. Excitedly shouted Qingqing, "I'm here." Then he jumped over to Qingqing with the help of a branch. The last leap landed in front of Qingqing. I saw that Qingqing actually found this, because he was worried that he had found this. Ripak smiled. "Didn't you go after the short-winged bird? How to chase it to the tree?" Parker was about to talk about what had just happened. Suddenly, the voices behind him boiled. Take a look, take a look. Isn't that a Rakshasa?" I saw a Rakshasa riding a tiger. Walk this way with a group of mates. Merely, the tiger riding is no longer that tiger. Rosa made her way through the crowd. I saw my companion wolf beast lying on the ground. Immediately pretend to be bullied. Stepped forward and stammered Rosa. "Bard is who killed him." Rosa interrupted the wolf beast's words with a grim face. Bard immediately turned and pointed to Qingqing's side. "It's Parker. It's the leopard. He did it." Parker looked at the wolf beast. A look of disbelief. "Why are you killing me? Don't you want to fight back?" Rosa's face darkened. Said in a strange tone, "Yes." He then raised his head and gave him a fierce gaze. "Kill me." The leopard thought to himself, "It's nothing to have a mate. But you always have to get back to the field. Parker, you brought it on yourself." The orcs behind him were ordered. Immediately put on an attacking stance. Parker was not afraid. Unleashed harsh words at the orcs in front of him. "I'll see who dares to kill me." Qingqing behind him couldn't bear to see Parker fighting against the crowd. He pulled Curtis's arm. Then he turned to Curtis for help. Curtis immediately understood what Qingqing meant. Gave him a reassuring smile back. Followed by, Curtis swam towards the enemy. His eyes gradually became sharper. He swam up to the two orcs. The red eyes were shining red at the moment. Bloodthirsty desires are revealed. Frightened, the two orcs retreated. Rosa didn't expect that. The four-striped snake beast will come to Parker's aid. He was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. Then he looked back at the white tiger. Said Vincent, "You go and deal with him." The white tiger didn't look at Rosa. Pulsating limbs, walked slowly towards the other side. Seeing this, Rosa immediately smiled proudly. "I'll see how you fight me." Looking at the white fox that is getting closer and closer to him, Qingqing clung to Curtis in fear. "I'm empathetic. When Vincent says that I will protect my beloved, always be on his side." An old girl's heart moved in an instant. Rosa saw Vincent walking towards Qingqing. "I thought I was going to win." As a result, Vincent walked to the opposite side and immediately stopped. Then he turned to face Rosa and the others. Like Chong, he firmly protected Qingqing behind him. Qingqing was blindfolded in an instant. Isn't Vincent Rosa's partner? How could he be on my side? Rosa was also stunned. This was completely unexpected. He trembled with rage. The hand on the tiger's back unconsciously grasped it tighter. "Vincent, you're not saying you don't rob the brigade. Just be my guardian." The liar then taunted that it was useless for you to help him. "I don't look at myself on the water. Do you think Bai Qingqing will take a fancy to you?" White Tiger hesitated. Then the tiger spat out a low beast eagle. "I'm not going to hijack the brigade. Also willing to be your guardian. But I will be more protective of my beloved." The white tiger paused for the oath class. "Go on, when you have a conflict with him. I will always be by his side." The surrounding orcs immediately talked about it. Rosa, who was watered and grew up. "It has never been more embarrassing than it is today. And all this is because of the appearance of Bai Qingqing." He hung his head heavily. Tears of grievance burst out of his eyes. He vowed never to let Bai Qingqing have a good time. Then he kicked the tiger beast under him and said, "Let's go." Finally, he put down a cruel word, "Vincent, don't let me see you in the tiger clan again." Then he led a group of partners to leave in a gloomy manner. Vincent watched the group leave. There is no reason for sadness in the back. Glad to see Vincent a little worried. "The Rakshasa will not allow you to return to the tiger clan. Will you be in trouble? Will King Yuan take the opportunity to harm you?" Vincent saw that Qingqing was worried about himself. "Don't worry," with a smile. "King Yuan's strongest assistant, the Wolf King, is only 4 beasts. He can't kill me." Hear Vincent say that. Qingqing is also much more relaxed. Vincent looked at Qingqing's face. Suddenly my heartbeat was out of order. He stared blankly. I can't take my eyes off it. He couldn't help but reach out and touch Qingqing's face. "You're so nice." It was the first time Qingqing had seen Vincent's face so closely. He didn't feel ugly at all. The scar showed that he was very manly. "Look at it." Qingqing blushed a little. Suddenly, a hand behind him pulled Qingqing back. Curtis hugged Bai Qingqing tightly, glared at Vincent, and didn't touch her. Vincent's dangling hand slowly retracted. The sadness in the eyes speaks for itself. The snake beast was her companion, and he is just wishful thinking. She reluctantly turned around, and I went back to the city. Qingqing watched Vincent's figure drifting away. An indescribable taste in my heart. After all, she betrayed the entire tiger clan for herself, and he couldn't repay it. Curtis saw Qingqing's reaction. There are some worries. He hugged Qingqing. Weakly asked, "Do you like him?" Qingqing innocently asked whom. "Vincent. I don't know him well." "How can you like him?" Parker on the side reprimanded with an aggrieved face. "But you've just been shy." Qingqing was a little devastated. By Curtis and Parker. Interrogation like torturing a cheating husband. He screamed. Then turn around. It's fair to say that's normal. Someone used to confess to me. I'm embarrassed. But I haven't accepted anyone either. Suddenly, Curtis's eyes lit up red. Said coldly, "It's better to be like this. Otherwise, I'll kill the white tiger right now." Qingqing faced such a strong and domineering. Curtis was speechless, talking about how Parker survived until now. What a guy who isn't afraid of death. Suddenly, the rain was dripping down again. Curtis immediately used his hands to cover Qingqing's rain. It looks like it's going to rain heavily. Let's go back. Qingqing couldn't help but muttered in his heart. Curtis's face changed too quickly. It's the same as the weather. So the three of them set out on their way home again. It seems that this rainy season will be closed for a while and will continue to open. Curtis's estrus ended this time. Let's mate. How did Qingqing say this? Just now. Qingqing's relatives once a month came to visit again. However, it is even worse. There is no cotton left at home. Parker with a sensitive nose. I smelled the smell of blood on Qingqing's body. Qingqing had no choice but to smile awkwardly. What to do if Parker's house runs out of cotton? Can you go to your mom and borrow some more? Parker grimaced. Before the heavy rainy season, the female should be in heat, and all are in heat. No one will ton. The cotton that was not picked was soaked in the rain. Now only hides can be used. With that, he ran out. I want to get a hide for Qingqing. Qingqing held up his hand before he could stop Parker. Crying in my heart, you wait for me to finish. Hides have bacteria. I don't dare to use it if you get it back. Right now. Only Curtis and Qingqing were left at home. The atmosphere was inexplicably awkward. Qingqing stole a glance at Curtis. After that night, this handsome man, it can be said that he is already his own partner. Now the big ant is coming. It's time to worry about purity again. I've been a good baby since I was a child, but it's not a feudal conservative antique either. Now we've all lived for so long. It's also time to try to really embrace Curtis. Even if you were pregnant, it also happens to be able to solve the big ant for a few months. It's also a lot of money. Think so. Curtis. The red-haired man immediately asked with concern what was wrong. Where is it uncomfortable? Not that I mean, Qingqing stammered nervously. I couldn't make up a whole sentence for half a day. Curtis asked again anxiously. What's wrong with you? Qingqing's face was flushed. I made up my mind in my heart that I didn't care. She turned her head and closed her eyes and said, Curtis, this estrus is over. Let's mate. After saying this, Qingqing slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Curtis with a flushed face. Curtis was staring at himself with wide eyes. Qingqing consciously touched his hot face. Oh my God, what did I say? She covered her eyes in shame. Don't dare to look at it. Curtis secretly said in his heart that he was ashamed to die. I would have known earlier. Suddenly, Curtis's voice interrupted his thoughts. What did you just say? Qingqing was trying to prevaricate the past. I don't have anything. His gaze suddenly stopped on Curtis's face. I saw this extremely powerful man. Now, there was a silver thread running down his eye, a crystal-clear teardrop. It's about to fall from the jaw. Curtis, what's wrong with you? Qingqing's voice choked up. He hurriedly reached out to wipe it for him, but was dodged by Curtis. He opened his mouth and asked again what you were talking about. I didn't hear you. You repeat. Qingqing exhaled a long breath, adjusted his breathing, then looked Curtis in the eye. I repeated it word by word. I said after estrus ended, let's get close. Probably only with deep affection. We'll make this powerful cold-blooded snake beast. Attack. At the moment when Qingqing finally accepted him, Curtis couldn't hold back any longer. Let the tears come out of your eyes. From the first sight of the girl, the snake that hugged itself tightly faded, and she identified her. All the way, she learned to do it for her. Rice tested the poison just because she wanted to eat mushrooms. She had carried her on the water. He also walked with her on the path of the forest where butterflies bloomed. She experienced the pain of being separated from her. I also felt the joy of being reunited with her. Now it's finally getting a response. It can be regarded as keeping the clouds open and seeing the moon. It took Curtis a moment to come back to his senses. Hurriedly turned his head. Cover Qingqing's eyes with your hand. Don't look at me. Curtis's reaction made Qingqing feel a little sad. Gently grasp the man's hand that is blocking his eyes. Stick him to his hot cheek. Curtis, everything I say is true. I want to be with you. I want to have a baby for you. I want to be your family. Qingqing's words were like a bomb dropped into the tear ducts. Curtis's tears welled up again. Her voice choked, crying like a child. I must be the luckiest of the snake people. I felt like I was dreaming. Thank you. Curtis's reaction was completely unexpected. She was stunned and didn't know how to appease her. It took Curtis a long time before he calmed down. He looked at Qingqing. There is still overflowing tenderness in his eyes. I'm so happy. Qingqing looked at Curtis like this. There was a throbbing in my heart. He stepped forward slowly, wrapped his arms around Curtis's neck. Eyes stared straight at him. There was an unprecedented affirmation in his eyes. He's really already in love. He plucked up courage. Close your eyes and get a little closer to the cool breath. This kiss has nothing to do with lust. It's more like a first love. This is the first consensual kiss. Long and long, until both of them fell out of breath. I was reluctant to let go. Qingqing lay on Curtis's chest and thought for a long time. Curtis, what are we going to do with Parker? We still live in his house. Qingqing's voice just fell. Curtis's voice came to his ears. I was the first. Qingqing didn't understand Ko. Tai's message looked up, asked what in a daze. Then Curtis leaned into Qingqing's ear. Domineering said that I was the first to mate. She had to be at the back of the line. Curtis's voice was not loud. It was like a thunderclap flying in Qingqing's brain. He was so frightened that his heart went into arrest. Curtis, that's Parker. He looked at Curtis in disbelief. I can't get back to my senses for a long time. Curtis saw Qingqing's reaction and solemnly repeated, confirmed that it is correct. Qingqing was directly frightened, and his expression disappeared. No, it should have been thought of a long time ago. Others who make overtures to me are in danger of their lives. And Parker was able to sleep with me in his arms every other day. It is only when it is very excessive that it is taught a lesson. So hit from the beginning, Curtis is ready to share me with Parker. But I grew up in a monogamous up. That's too heavy, isn't it? Come to think of it, Qingqing wanted to decline politely. But it's just the beginning. Suddenly, he was hugged by a big hand. Curtis's eyes froze. The big cold hand gripped the back of Qingqing's neck. Asked what it was. You want to give him life first. Forgot what I said. If you like other males, I'll make him never be in front of you again. Curtis had murderous intent in his eyes at this time. But in the deepest part, there is sorrow. Do you like him? Curtis confirmed to be his sick boss. 1 minute ago. It's still because Qingqing said she wanted to be with him. May I weep with joy for him to give birth to snake eggs. Even happy to say that he was willing to accept Parker's words. Next 1 minute. He was furious because of Qingqing's vision. Full of thoughts. Qingqing wanted to be the first to give birth to Parker. So I supported him very much. Became hysterical. Curtis felt like a stray beast. It is a great blessing to be recognized by the people you love. But he was still greedy and wanted to monopolize Qingqing's heart. The reason why Parker was allowed to become Qing's companion. It was because he thought Qingqing didn't like Parker. It's just that I can't get rid of it because of the grace of saving my life. But Qingqing's was what Curtis thought. Qingqing wants to give Parker the chance to have his first child. He actually likes Parker. He even had murderous intentions towards Parker in his heart. Where has Qingqing ever seen Curtis like this? His explanation was no. I just take Parker as an older brother. Why don't we move out? Don't hurt him. Qingqing's words were like a powerful tranquilizer. Curtis's mood immediately calmed down. The corners of his mouth inadvertently hooked up a smile. It turned out that I had misunderstood. Qingqing looked at Curtis's uncertain face. Cold sweat broke out in the eyes. The moment Curtis reached out, his eyes widened in fright. Don't be afraid. I don't kill him. Curtis caressed Qingqing's face with pity. Go on. Parker saved your life. Deserves to be your partner. Isn't it after much thought? Qingqing nodded in agreement. On the one hand, Parker would rather be abandoned than give up on himself. On the other hand, As far as it was just now, it's really scary to be alone with Curtis. And this is a world of polyandry. No one will condemn me. Curtis put his arm around Qingqing, and he said, "Wait until you have my eggs. Just be close to him, just like that on a rainy night in the heavy rainy season." Qingqing and Curtis had a passionate time, a night of flesh and soul blending. Early the next morning, unexpectedly no rain, but Parker's eyes were watered. He sat on his knees. "Hand Qingqing a bowl of soup. Qingqing, you drink soup. I cooked it with big fish and short-winged birds. It tastes good." Wu Qingqing was speechless and died. "Parker, what kind of wind is this smoking? Looking at the big tonic soup handed to your mouth." Qingqing had no choice but to open his mouth to accept it. Parker wanted to keep feeding, was bowled by Curtis behind him. "Snatch me up. You go fetch water." Parker glared viciously at Curtis's back, scolded in his heart, "Abominable snake beasts. While I'm not at home," and Qingqing. Parker glanced at his beloved Qingqing again. As a result, they are even angrier. Hateful Qingqing touched his bulging belly. "It means that I really can't drink it anymore." Curtis had no choice but to give up. "Okay, then I'll go." "Don't practice." Qingqing nodded obediently. Be careful." He looked at Curtis's back. Everything from last night came to mind. He couldn't help but blush again. Parker watched the scene. "I feel very uncomfortable. Once close. Does it make Qingqing like that snake beast so much?" No, no, no. "I also want to make Qingqing like me more." Parker slapped the straw bunk hard. "Embolden yourself." He smiled and came to Qingqing. "Qingqing is waiting for you. Let's get close." "Qingqing is waiting for you. Let's get close." Bai Qingqing was frightened by the big head that came over and shrank back. In broad daylight. "Can you be serious?" Parker immediately turned into a peerless little pitiful. Squeeze out a few tears. He pinched and cried aggrievedly. "Qingqing, do you hate me so much?" Bai Qingqing looked at Parker. The heart immediately softened. He sighed helplessly. "Wait for the eggs to be laid. Let's unravel the language." Parker's pillow leopards are frozen. Should have looked at Qingqing stunned. There are still 2 lines of tears on his face. He couldn't believe his ears. Did Qingqing say that he wanted to be close to me? Is he finally going to accept me? Parker was speechless with excitement. Suddenly stood up, turn around, and walk outside, leaving Qingqing with a confused face of self-doubt. Am I saying something wrong? Parker walked outside. Stand still. Suddenly, my body couldn't stop shaking. Immediately after that, he jumped 3 feet high. It's great to shout happily. Then he immediately turned into a small whirlwind and ran wildly. I'm going to tell the whole people. Parker was sweating profusely and ran down the road. But he couldn't close his mouth. He was so happy. Suddenly, he braked hard and stopped. Wait a minute. I seem to have left Qingqing alone at home. Come to think of it, Parker quickly turned around. It's broken, and I'm overjoyed for a while. I actually ran out. If only the wolf beast came to the door. That Qingqing can't be. Gotta get back quickly. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. The 2 legs unconsciously quickened their pace. Qingqing is waiting for me. I'll be back to you right away. Suddenly, the wolf beast bud flashed behind Parker. He used sharp wolf claws. Slashed down on Parker's back. Parker's back. Immediately 3 deep cuts were made. Angrily squinted back. It's their group of villains who will only engage in sneak attacks. He reached out to his mouth and licked the claw that had scratched Parker. Parker turned to look. It took 3 seconds to make a judgment that it was abominable. Outnumbered, heroes don't suffer immediate losses. Then he immediately turned around and ran with his legs raised. Then I heard the orcs behind me shouting for the boss. He ran and chased after me. Parker had just been scratched on the back. Now there are obviously some sequelae of blood loss. The orcs behind them quickly caught up. Parker snorted and gasped. The heart is pounding faster and faster. It always feels like the next second is going to come to an abrupt end. Sure enough, Parker soon developed ill symptoms. His eyelids grew heavier and heavier. The vision is also getting blurred. He gritted his teeth with difficulty. No, we have to stop. Keep running like this. I'm going to die. Suddenly, Parker's eyes widened in horror. It turned out that the abominable wolf beast had chased after him. He smiled wickedly at Parker. Parker was then kicked to the ground. A snap of gliding. The pain of the wound on the back rubbing against the ground. Parker's expression was extremely painful. Bard grinned evilly and slowly approached Parker. Get out of the way. He's my prey. Parker endured the pain and crawled up. He will not sit still. There is a belief in the heart that supports it. I must go back alive. I haven't traveled with Qingqing yet. I can't lose. There must be no two beasts looking at each other. A fierce battle is about to begin. Parker is simply a pure 24K iron. Because the daughter-in-law said that she was playing with snake eggs, she traveled with him. Suddenly excited, standing is not sitting. After a while, he ran out of the door and was stunned. After a while, he jumped 3 feet high with joy. Unexpectedly, he was still in a hurry to run and tell the entire mob orcs. The result was found halfway through. I left my daughter-in-law at home alone. However, on the way back, as he desperately ran, someone sneak attacked. At first glance, there were 3 opponents. There's one more among them. When the 3-striped beast saw that the situation was not good, he ran away. As a result, they were still caught up. I had no choice but to fight hard. The 2 looked at each other. The 3-striped beast had a look of contempt on his face. And Parker is a wounded 2-striped beast. Can only rely on the desire to go back to see Qingqing. Gritting your teeth and holding on, both orcs were full of strength. Rushed towards the other party. At the moment when the 2 were about to collide, a huge black shadow fell. I saw it not far away. A white fox at breakneck speed. Towards the 2 of them. In the next second, the white tiger flew between the 2. Just listen to the bang. Parker and Bud were instantly knocked into each other and bounced off the side. The 2 of them also slid on the ground for a long distance before stopping. The white tiger turned to warn the wolf beast. Bard shuddered at the sight of Vincent. Parker lifted his heavy eyelids and looked at it. Only a white tiger hoof was seen. I couldn't support it and fainted. Qingqing was very happy to hear the knock on the door, and Parker. You're back. The moment I opened the door, my eyes widened in shock. It's from a low, steady boy of mine. I saw Vincent carrying the unconscious Parker on his back. Stand in the doorway. Qingqing was a little panicked when he saw Parker, who was unconscious. What's wrong with Parker? Hurry into the house. He was just besieged by several orcs. Injured. Qingqing looked at Parker's injury so badly. Somewhat shocked. Who did it? Vincent didn't seem to hear it. I just sniffed hard from the sidelines. Then after looking around, say you have too few males. Qingqing was stunned. Didn't look up. What does Vincent mean? Don't wait for the deep sound. Vincent added with some panic. Let me be your guardian beast. I slept in the main room. Wait for Parker. I'll leave. Qingqing turned to look at Vincent in surprise. How does this work? It's too much of a hassle for you. And Curtis took care of me. Qingqing's voice just fell. Curtis's voice came from behind him. Curtis can walk over slowly. A gesture of a man. Repeat. You can be his guardian. Qingqing was speechless. What's going on in Curtis's head? How can this not be jealous again? Didn't wait for him to react. The 2 men actually sat down on the left and the right. Qingqing looked at the left stupidly. Take a look at the right so you're on the same page. Curtis explained. I need him to protect you in my hunting room. Looking at Parker, who was unconscious in front of him. Qingqing had no choice but to agree. Parker won't die. We should go to a veterinarian. Vincent explained. Veterinarians are all from the Yuan family. They don't heal males easily. And Rosa has been very close to the Yuan clan recently. Just a word from him. There could be no veterinarian who would treat him. Qingqing couldn't understand. You have all been assassinated by King Yuan. How can he still be friendly with the Yuan clan? Vincent continued with an indifferent expression. He doesn't have a Sven companion. It doesn't conflict with who you befriend. His father was nothing more than a good thing for him. In the words of the Tiger King, who now believed him, he doesn't believe in me anymore. Qingqing looked at Vincent. Some sympathy. So, Vincent really can't go back to his own group this time. He thought of Rakshasa as the culprit of all this. Angry, clenches fists. It's too much. Curtis looked at Qingqing, who was dejected, some distressed. Suddenly, Qingqing thought of something. He turned around and grabbed Curtis excitedly. By the way, there was a veterinarian in Ancient Humps. I'm going to go to Curtis. You're going to be a snake. It's hard to celebrate. How to get started? You have to pick up other people's clothes. It is said that Parker was seriously injured by a sneak attack by the wolf beast. He is still unconscious. Because the Rakshasa is in the way, none of the veterinarians in the city of 10,000 beasts would come to treat Parker. Qingqing suddenly thought. Harvey, a veterinarian he met before in Hump Valley. Curtis Serpentine is urgently needed. Take him to Hump Valley to find Harvey. He ripped off Curtis's fur skirt. In a hurry, you are about to turn into a snake. Curtis looked at Qingqing without moving. The corners of his mouth overflowed with a touch of pleasure. Looked at by Qingqing with a smile on his face. Tearing at their own hides. Qingqing lived up to his expectations. I've seen everything I need to see. That's when he reacted. Curtis is pure friendship. He suddenly went a little crazy. Don't be indecent at this time. Hurry up and save Parker. Curtis's talent was sentenced to justice. Pick up Qingqing and get ready to go. Before leaving, Qingqing didn't forget to ask Vincent to take good care of Parker. Qingqing was always worried about the injured leopard. Parker, you wait for me to come back. No one is allowed until I return. Bang, bang, bang. Qingqing pounded the door vigorously. Harvey, are you there? Inside, Harvey heard the sound and walked outside. It's coming, it's coming. Don't knock. You are Bai Qingqing. Harvey looked incredulous. Qingqing seems to be different from before. Qingqing hurriedly explained the situation to Harvey. Harvey, come with me to see Parker. He was badly wounded. Harvey is Pa. Grams after a simple check. Comfort, don't worry. If you can't die, you will definitely be fine if you sleep for 2 days. Qingqing uneasily confirmed to Harvey again. Harvey hurriedly looked up at Bai Qingqing's face. Don't worry. Half the story. Suddenly, his eyes became glazed. The Bai Qingqing that Harvey had seen before was not full of mud. It's a black pockmarked face. Now a white and translucent face. It was the first time he had taken a closer look. She's so beautiful. It's getting more and more beautiful. Parker, this kid is really lucky. Harvey blushed at the sight. A heart can't stop trembling. He hurriedly turned his head back. He continued, he was not mortally wounded. I shouldn't be able to die. Qingqing was relieved. He breathed a sigh of relief and said that it would be good. Please give me some medicine for my wounds. Harvey happily gloomy. Okay, I'll go back and get it for you. Qingqing hurriedly thanked him. Harvey packed up his things and went back to get his medicine. Curtis wrapped his arms around Qingqing from behind. Said that his stomach was hungry. I went hunting. After speaking, he suddenly squinted at Vincent on the side. Vincent looked at the two of them who were in love and couldn't stand it anymore. Immediately got up and said, I'm going to hunt. Curtis didn't appreciate it. You don't have to help me guard him. My females are naturally raised by myself. Vincent nodded as well. Qingqing watched Curtis leave. Vincent watched Bai Qingqing from the sidelines. Alone with Vincent for the first time, Qingqing looked very reserved. How's going on with you, Tiger Clan? Rakshasa and the Yuan clan befriended. Will they turn their attacks on the mobs? Vincent looked at Qingqing. Not necessarily. King Yuan's goal is to poison the great. He's still going to attack the Tiger Clan. The prestige of the Yuan King is high. Now the Tiger King is also blinded. Qingqing was puzzled. What the hell did King Yuan do? He's just a two-piece beast. Why did both the Tiger King and the Wolf King listen to him? Qingqing's words silenced Vincent for a moment. Suddenly looked at Bai Qingqing, said, "You're not from the Yuan clan." I really didn't expect it. The first to see through the disguised identity of the Bai Qingqing Yuan clan. It turned out to be him. Just now, Qingqing asked a question that had been bothering him for a long time. Why is the Yuan king a two-pattern beast? Can actually be in various canons. Standing in the C position of the four major beast kings. What did King Yuan do? Let the Wolf King and the Tiger King, who were both Siwen, listen to him. Vincent was silent for a moment and said, "You are not from the Yuan clan, right?" Qingqing was shocked. He looked up. When Vincent saw Qingqing's reaction, he was sure that it was not. "You can rest assured. I'm not going to say it. Although I don't know why you are hiding your identity." Qingqing could only turn around with a weak heart. Vincent went on to explain, "The abilities of the Yuan are different from those of other orcs. Their rank has nothing to do with combat effectiveness. And it's related to here." As he spoke, Vincent pointed to his head. Qingqing also pointed to his head in the same way as Vincent. Here Vincent nodded. "Go ahead and say yes." Mental power, he could do a lot of things. For example, communicating with the gods. Vincent's words made Qingqing shed 3 cold sweats. This is the identity of the Yuan king. The reason for being above the other 3 kings. I'm afraid the gods aren't gods. The Yuan clan is so smart. It is entirely possible to weave such nonsense. To trick the orcs into trust. If King Yuan can really communicate with God, why haven't you seen where I'm coming from for so long? And what the hell is the spiritual power lure? But Qingqing didn't want to go either. Denial of the religion of this world. Hurriedly diverted the topic. What are you going to do? Can't you be the Tiger King? The so-called speaker has no intention. The listener has a heart. Vincent's eyes were solemn for a moment. Very seriously, do you want me to be the Tiger King? As long as you want. I can no. I'm just asking. Qingqing hurriedly shook his head and denied it. Vincent's earnest tone flattered him a little. I must not let him misunderstand. But he wanted to do it for me. Tiger King Mo Qingqing's denial. The brilliance in Vincent's eyes quickly dimmed. Well, I don't want to do that. Because if I don't kill Rose's father, Hades will definitely encourage him to join forces with the Wolf King to kill me. Speaking of which, Vincent's eyes closed. There was an indescribable sadness on his face. So I'm going to be on top. It is necessary to kill the original Tiger King. Qingqing's shock was revealed on his face. I see. But you have to kill your brother to get on the throne. It's too costly. No wonder Vincent doesn't want to be the Tiger King. It's been a long time. Parker still didn't wake up. Qingqing stayed by Parker's side. I hope he wakes up soon. He just stared at the sleeping Parker. Pray that the next second he will be able to open his eyes. Qingqing shook, sniffing familiar scents. He thought back to Parker's happiness. A handful of the way you picked yourself up. Thinking back to how stupid he was when he looked like he was a nymphomaniac. Recall that he lost a fight with Hugh. The embarrassed look when he came back. All kinds of things from the past. He misses the good and the bad. The thought that Parker might never wake up again. He couldn't hold back his face anymore and began to cry. I don't know how long it took. But Curtis had already come back to make the meal. Xiaobai eats. Qingqing heard Curtis's voice. Quickly wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes. Sit up. Go eat it. Late order food will be cold. Qingqing pretended to smile at Curtis. Well, let's go. Speaking of Curtis's barbecue skills and Parkerby. It's a long way off. Qingqing looked at the roasted meat and didn't know how to put it in his mouth. But I still can't help but excuse Curtis. A snake that is afraid of tigers. I can bake it like this. Really good. The white tiger's stomach growled. Vincent suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Qingqing is sorry. Curtis wouldn't be going to prepare food for Vincent. He hurriedly asked Vincent to hunt and eat. Vincent, however, said he had already eaten it, and he has nowhere to go. Qingqing hurriedly asked how it would be. So, where are you staying during this time? Vincent explained indifferently and walked outside. Rosa is not allowed. I live in a house of the Tiger Clan. I don't have the money to buy a house at the moment. Qingqing didn't expect Rosa to do such a desperate thing to Vincent. I thought that Vincent had offended Rosa because of himself. I only felt more guilty in my heart. Then while she's still here, be nice to her. He stepped forward. Concerned, asked if you were cold. I'll go and get you a hide. Vincent hurriedly said no. I'm not a female. What else does Qingqing want to say? Curtis's voice came from behind him. Frightened, he stayed where he was. Just listen to Curtis's tone of reproach. Do you want to eat properly? Haha, Parker, I'm sorry. Forgive me for laughing out loud. It is said that Parker is seriously injured and falls asleep. I didn't wake up for a long time. Qingqing didn't think about Parker's tea and dinner because he was worried. Curtis looked at Bai Qingqing, who was getting thinner and thinner, distressed and scratchy, all because of this dead leopard. Qingqing has been hungry and thin for the past few days. Curtis looked at Parker on the ground. A wave of anger rushed to his head. Useless stuff. This face is really less and less pumped the more you look at it. Curtis clenched his fists in anger. Transmogrify the tail of a snake behind his berth. Then he slammed it on the sleeping Parker. Bai Qingqing on the side was instantly frightened, and his expression disappeared. Screaming. Even the onlookers were stunned. Suddenly Parker's voice came who I was. I have so many stars there. Qingqing was speechless for a moment. I was woken up. The leopard was just tired and asleep. In a trance, Parker heard a voice waking up. You okay? He slowly opened his eyes. Qingqing's figure gradually became clear in his eyes. Parker's golden pupils widened suddenly. I saw my beloved Qingqing right in front of me. Parker was instantly refreshed. She sat up jerkily, hugged Qingqing tightly. Woo-woo, Qingqing. I'll almost never see you again. Parker waits for your face. Qingqing said. Push Parker away, staring at his face to confirm something. Parker touched his face. Asked what was wrong with my face. Disfigured. Qingqing's eyes widened, and he continued. Not really. It's just that you're like now. Isn't it the three-striped beast? Parker reacted suddenly. He vaguely remembered when he was cornered. The plasma of the body is suddenly lifted. That's when he got the traces of his duel with Bart. The expansion of the blood veins can now be faintly perceived. Power multiplied, just as Parker was basking in the joy of upgrading. Curtis suddenly stood behind him. Do you want me to help you deal with him? Parker snorted and curled the corners of his mouth. Do you still need it? The 3 wrinkles on his face made him look even more insolent. Bai Qingqing looked at Parker, who was so confident. I was a little stunned for a moment. I can't help but feel like a nymphomaniac. I've never seen a Parker like this. It's really handsome. Curtis turned his head and snorted coldly. Don't kill yourself. Curtis said this coldly. He wagged his tail and went out of the house. Parker, the childish ghost, is the same as ever, grimacing at Curtis's back. Qingqing was speechless. Parker is still the same Parker. He struggled to reconcile the two. Parker, Curtis still cares about you. We're a family after all. After saying that, Qingqing smiled happily at Parker. Looked at Qingqing's serious appearance. Parker almost believed it. Curtis doesn't care about me. He was just afraid that I would die and no one would cooperate with him. Still, Parker was pleased, because Qingqing has already regarded himself as a family. That's enough. Happy for only 3 seconds. Parker was angry again, because he saw Bai Qingqing chatting with Vincent. Qingqing also smiled. Parker didn't understand. Curtis, the Overlord Snake, will actually let Vincent into the house. Parker stared at Vincent. The eye is not the eye. The nose is not the nose. Vincent, this guy is clearly here for Qingqing. I'm going to stare at him every step of the way. Then Parker put on a big face. It's an inch to Vincent. Tell me why save me. Qingqing hurriedly pulled the leopard's handkerchief and said, Parker, don't do that. Vincenz was a guest. I saw Vincent slowly say that you are his partner. He will be sad when you die. Vincent's love is deep. Rosa followed behind as she was about to deal with Qingqing. Just as Rosa was about to make a move, immediately protected Qingqing. Rosa held a grudge. Banish Vincent from the Tiger clan. Homeless Vincent, wandering around Qingqing's house all day long, silently guarded. By chance, Parker was besieged and killed by Rakshas's companions. Just to not make Bai Qingqing sad, rescue Parker and send him home, also offered during Parker's injury. Be the guardian of Qingqing. Protect him thoroughly. Qingqing was surprised by Vincent's dedication to himself, but he couldn't repay it. There is only a deep sense of guilt. Thank you, Vincent. You don't have a place to live, just live here. You can stay as long as you want. After Qingqing finished speaking, he quickly turned his head and asked Parker's opinion. Parker said he was casual, as long as Curtis is okay. Qingqing struggled with how to convince Curtis. Suddenly, Vincent was heard say no. Parker, okay, I'll leave. Qingqing knew Vincent's refusal. It's also that I'm worried that I'll be embarrassed. But he couldn't bear it. Look at him. He doesn't even have a place to live. Parker has a log cabin in the Hump Valley. If you don't have anywhere to go, feel free to go and stay there. And so went on for a while. After Parker recovered, Vincent left. Qingqing saw that Parker had disgust and was about to run out. Hurriedly asked him where he was going. Parker just said to go hunting. Bring something delicious back to Qingqing. But in my heart, I was thinking about it. I'm going to go to Bard and settle accounts with them. Bud, you wait for me. On the other side, Bard and Rosa's other companions, searching for prey in the woods. Because Rosa is now pregnant with a skinny boy. The taste has become very picky. So Bard, as the father of the child, he was especially interested in satisfying Rosa's requests. On this day, he led a team to hunt in the mountains as usual. Walked all morning. Bard finally heard his prey moving. He raised his hand and motioned for everyone to stop. Then hold your breath and observe what's ahead. Saw. A deer boy scurried out of the bushes. Bud was overjoyed. Great, I can give Rosa a change of flavor today. He hid the eating axe behind his back. Approached cautiously. Suddenly, a loud oddy in the bushes startled the deer. The fawn immediately snapped away. The back molars of the fallen Bard's 7 were trembling. Who just sneezed who? The 4 Karami were scared into a cold sweat. The little heads are shaking from the bottom of the waves. No, not us. Then, Parker, who was sitting in the trees and watching the excitement, finally spoke up. It's really ugly. Bud immediately looked up angrily. Who was sneaking and hiding in the trees? So everyone was curious. Look up between the trees for the source of the sound. Parker snorted. Then he jumped down from the tree, landed firmly in front of the orcs. It was you, Bard, who was so excited to see Parker. He gritted his teeth and glared at Parker. Long time no see. There is an invisible coercion of the strong. Bard looked at Parker. Looks horrified. 3 rounds. You go up 3 rounds. Parker ignored his boring question. Directly strike a handsome attack pose. I didn't finish it last time. Now go ahead. In the face of Parker's provocation, Bard's face was solemn. I can only fight. Otherwise, how can I be the boss in front of this group of guys in the future? He then ordered all of them to stand back. There is no command from me. No one is allowed to step forward. I thought to myself that this leopard had just won 3 rounds. How strong can it be? He walked to the front. Upper limbs lie on the ground. Stretch out your hind legs and attack. At the same time, he didn't forget to say cruel words to fight me. Don't regret it. As he spoke, he kicked his feet. Fly straight at Parker. Parker looked at the wolf beast flying over. Looks unusually excited. He then rushed towards Bud as well. The two beasts were closing in on each other at great speed. Same story. There will also be a different ending. Anyway, last time the wolf beast Bud fought against Parker. Beat Parker so much that he didn't even know his mother. Parker was a blessing in disguise. Became the youngest three-striped beast in 10,000 Beast City. You must know that even Vincent, the most talented man in 100 years. It was only at the age of 20 that he was upgraded to a three-striped beast. And Parker is just coming of age now. It was also not long after he was born. Thus, Parker's talent is a bit higher than Vincent's. Parker had just recovered. I can't wait to come to Bar to fight it alone. Both beasts are at full strength. Rush towards each other at great speed. Just listen to the bang. The two beasts collided. I saw a large mouthful of blood spurting out of Bud's mouth. Parker's right hand turned into a claw. It had reached into Bud's lower abdomen. The pain and the accident made Bud's eyes widen. How could it be that I underestimated the enemy? Parker took it when he saw it, ran away before the other orcs arrived. The wounded wolf beast was left on its knees and could not move. A Karami is behind Parker. Cheer up Parker with a small fist. Oh no, it's shouting to stop. Don't run, Bud covered his wound and said. Let them stop chasing. Bard looked ahead, still a little undecided. He's not the waste leopard he used to be. Another good day with sunny weather. Three big men were holding a meeting around Bai Qingqing. Meeting host. The question is how Qingqing can eat so much recently. Parker asked Harvey worriedly. Do you see something? Qingqing now eats 3 times as much as before. I'm so afraid she'll break her stomach. So Harvey began to check Qingqing's pulse. 6 eyes stared at Harvey in a daze. Parker and Qingqing are okay to say. It's just that Curtis's gaze is so scary. So she closed her eyes. Feel the pulse carefully. It feels so familiar. What is it? That's right, Hai. Congratulations. Qingqing is fine. It's just that I'm pregnant. As soon as this remark came out, the sweet potatoes in Parker's hands were shocked. Qingqing had an indistinguishable expression in the clouds. Curtis frowned. I couldn't believe my ears. Does Xiaobai have my child? Parker reacted. Excitedly, I checked with Harvey again. Really? Then he turned his head and said happily to Bai Qingqing. Did you hear that? Bai Qingqing caressed his stomach. I said to myself that I was pregnant. Do you really have a baby? At this time, there was an image in Parker's mind that was playing on a loop. When the snake eggs are born, we will unravel them. When the snake eggs are born, we will unravel them. When the snake eggs are born, we will unravel them. The more Parker thought about it, the more excited he became. Curtis, how many days are you pregnant? Seeing that Curtis had no intention of answering, Qingqing hurriedly opened his mouth. Curtis told me, if you eat too much, you will be born quickly. Food is plentiful. It will be born in a few months. After saying that, he turned his head and confirmed with Curtis. Yes, Curtis. Curtis squeezed out a faint smile. But he didn't seem to have the joy of being a father in his eyes. At least not as excited as Parker's reaction. I saw him whimper and jump up. Compared with, this leopard is more like a father-to-be. This is not Parker's happy to go hunting again. Supplemented Qingqing's nutrition. But you can't look at appearances. Because Parker at this time, I thought so. Wait for Qingqing to finish production. You'll be disarmed with me. Come to think of this. Parker's feet were much faster. Because he still has a thought in his heart. I'm going to tell everyone the good news. Bai Qingqing is pregnant. It's Curtis's child. But Parker was more excited than Curtis. He jerked to his feet and cheered so good. Then he ran outside to give Bai Qingqing a martyr. By the way, the good news of Qingqing's pregnancy. Tell the whole tribe of people. It's all just because Qingqing said, wait until she finishes giving birth to snake eggs. You will officially bond with yourself. A few days later, Qingqing called Parker to lecture him. It's only been a few days. All the neighbors next door found out about my pregnancy. Parker, Is your mouth a bighorn? Seeing Qingqing was not happy. Parker immediately admits his mistake. Qingqing, I was wrong. Are people happy? And what is the bighorn? Qingqing was speechless. Why can't this leopard always catch the key? This one doesn't matter. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted Qingqing's lecture. Parker saw the opportunity and quickly got up. I'm going to open the door. I heard a man outside the door say to Parker, Bai Qingqing is pregnant. Parker saw someone, pleasantly surprised. The camera turned. It was King Yuan standing at the door. Parker immediately shouted excitedly into the room, Come out, and come out to see you. Qingqing remembered Vincent's matter. I don't have a very good impression of this Yuan king. First time meeting, though. Qingqing is still very polite. Hit the king of the Yuan as well. It was the first time I saw Qingqing up close. Was instantly stunned by his peerless appearance. He snickered lewdly, then immediately put on an amiable face. You're so beautiful. I'm afraid that even the females of the mermaid clan can't compare. Qingqing said curiously. Yes, I haven't seen a merfolk yet. By the way, are you here to check my body? Now it's time to get started. I saw King Yuan slowly raise a hand. Said yes. Then I started. Then he opened his 5 fingers at Bai Qingqing. Then close your eyes. It's like feeling something. Suddenly, he seemed to be frightened by something. Opened his eyes suddenly. He looked at Bai Qingqing with an expression of disbelief. This was Hades' reaction. Make Qingqing nervous. What's wrong with my baby? Hades hurriedly reassured that it was nothing. Don't worry. I just marveled at their amazing vitality. Qingqing could only laugh awkwardly. Then, King Yuan continued, Your fertility is very good. You should choose more than one partner. This succeeded in angering Curtis. Parker didn't look very happy either. But Parker has always respected the Yuanwan. I was sullen and silent. But Curtis is a stray beast. I don't care about him. The king. His eyes were cold. The brow furrowed. The voice was even more murderous. You're good to go. Hades belongs to the ignorant and fearless. Curtis was directly ignored. Xiang Qingqing continued. I'll have someone bring you food every day. You can choose your favorite companion. Hades' words were like a fuse. It completely ignited Curtis's anger. Just listen to a hiss. Curtis's blue leather skirt was strewn to the ground. Curtis's red eyes lit up red. A giant tail rises high. Due the momentum of the attack. I said, tightly baring my sharp fangs. King Chao Yuan let out a roar. You're good to go. Curtis's sand overflow turned into wisps of smoke. Surround the Yuan king. King Yuan finally showed a look of fear. Trembling violently, I saw that King Yuan's eyes were getting wider and wider. The eyeballs seemed to fall out of their sockets. It's really hard to imagine. If Bai Qingqing, there is no such strong and domineering partner as Curtis. What a miserable end. Just now, King Yuan came to check on Bai Qingqing. Discover Bai Qing. Celebration fertility is very good. The quote made him choose a few more partners. Contribute to the reproduction of the tribe. Can this Curtis make it? Immediately got angry and let him pass quickly. As a result, King Yuan ignored Curtis directly. Hagen Qingqing said, he will arrange for the males to bring him food every day. Let him choose a few of them to be his companions. Curtis immediately furious. Become a bestiality. A posture of wanting to swallow the Yuan king alive. King Yuan's face turned pale in an instant. Like a dead man. Fortunately, the Wolf King heard the movement. Opened the door in time to save his life. The voice of the Wolf King was heard. Hurriedly shouted not to come in. Then the trembling Chao Qingqing and the others bowed their heads and said, Let's go. Then Hades slowly turned and walked towards the door. His face turned blue the whole time. It's like just going to hell and coming back. Parker stood in the doorway, looked at the 2 kings who left, and looked resentful. Then he slammed the door shut with an angry bang. Then he turned around and said angrily to this old fellow, "It must be trying to give the repair a chance. Good thing you have a baby now. He has no reason to give you all three of you now." Qingqing didn't answer his words. The king of the branch said that the baby is very healthy. "That's right, Curtis. You used to say, 'Take me to the beach.' Is there a mermaid on the beach? Have you ever seen a female of the mermaid people?" Curtis immediately replied that he had been. Bai Qingqing immediately became excited when he heard this. "How about mermaid females pretty?" "Mermaids? I'd love to see it for myself. I wonder if mermaid females have fish tails." Curtis's eyes stared at Qingqing. "Say the standard answer. You look best." Qingqing's heartbeat suddenly became chaotic. There was also a noticeable flush on his face. Parker on the side looked at the two of them, trembling with anger. Suddenly, she slapped the floor hard. "It's like you've discovered something terrible. Qingqing, he must have gone to rob the mermaid female. Don't let him fool you." Curtis immediately retorted with a nervous look. "I'm afraid of Qingqing." Parker's words. Parker snorted again. "What's the hurry? The heart is empty." The result succeeded in angering Curtis. "Stupid leopard, I think you're underdrawn." Immediately after that, there was a burst of leopard screams in the house. The camera turned. In the cloud curtain, the two men with planned umbrellas suddenly stopped. Then Hades fell to his knees. Dig and spit out a shocking blood. Was so scared that the Wolf King's umbrella was lost. Looking at the large pool of blood on the ground, the Wolf King was shocked and said that you were so badly injured. "I'm going to teach the serpent beast a lesson." Hades grabbed the Wolf King's arm and didn't go. "You are no match for him." The Wolf King was not convinced and said that he would not try it. "How to know? It's been more than 10 years since I became a four-soul beast." Hades uses the Wolf King's powerful arms. "Get up slowly." Continued, he was a stray beast. It's all about surviving in the cracks. He has encountered many more dangers and trials than we do. It's already more powerful in the same level. Try it out. I realized he was more powerful than I had ever imagined. Definitely the strongest orc in 10,000 B City. The Wolf King was shocked. More powerful than the Tiger King. King Yuan paused and said, "You and the Tiger King join forces. I guess I can beat him." Suddenly, King Yuan's eyes became solemn. "So it's best to win over Bai Qingqing. Otherwise, you can only cut the grass and eradicate the roots." One day a month later, Curtis called Qingqing to eat as usual. Qingqing was sitting on the grass bunk resting. Her belly was visibly bulging. It's just that the figure is thinner than usual. She looked up and said, "Curtis, I wasn't hungry," and touched my bulging belly. Continue to say, "Today's belly is so supportive." Curtis looked at Qingqing with a distressed face. "But you haven't eaten for a day." As she spoke, she lowered her eyes and looked at Qingqing's big belly. Suddenly, there was a pause in the eyes. It's like remembering something. Xiao Bai is about to give birth. Bai Qingqing has been pregnant for a month. Due to the fast energy consumption of snake eggs in the body. Qingqing this one. The amount of food per month is 3 times that of usual. Suddenly one day, Qingqing actually said that she didn't want to eat. Curtis realizes that Qingqing may be about to give birth. She leaned over and said, "Yes," gently. "If you don't want to eat, don't eat." Qingqing felt uneasy in her heart. Curtis has been pushing me to eat with a tough attitude. How did you suddenly change your attitude? It can't be the calm before the storm. He hurriedly assured Curtis that I would have a better appetite tomorrow. Be sure to eat as much as you can. Curtis doted on Qingqing over, stretched out his hand, and gently stroked Qingqing's belly. Then look at him and say softly, "You're the best." Qingqing leaned on Curtis's shoulder. "I'm so sleepy that I can't lift my eyelids." "If you're sleepy, go to sleep," said. Curtis adjusted Qingqing into a comfortable position. Parker's eyes widened at this. "It's time for Qingqing to sleep next to me today." Curtis's eyes drooped. In a calm tone, "She slept with me today." Parker was not convinced. The tail slapped heavily on the grass and said why. Curtis gently covered Qingqing's ear. Put the sound very low, he's going to give birth. Parker was stunned, and then also learned from Curtis. Whisper to him why you didn't tell him. Curtis continued to whisper that he would be nervous. Parker froze. It's him. I would never have thought of such a small thing. The serpent's thoughtfulness is unmatched by him. Parker stopped arguing. He whispered that I would go prepare hot water. Then he turned and walked out of the house. The month is in the air. It's late at night. Bai Qingqing suddenly had a stomachache. She curled up on the grass, trembling all over. Curtis Parker, my stomach hurts. Don't be afraid. I'm here, Curtis said to help Qingqing up. Let her sit up on her back. I was sweating profusely from the pain. The girl who kept shaking. Curtis only hated that he couldn't bear it for her. Parker heard Qingqing. The voice also hurriedly ran in. Qingqing, did you give birth? Gave birth to a few. Qingqing looked like a fool. Look at the thirst. I just woke up and gave birth to something. Should you have a baby as easy as wetting the bed? Qingqing was speechless in her heart. I can't complain now. He adjusted his breathing. Tough to say, Parker. Help me get a vet. Parker burst into tears. He was scared and anxious and cried and asked, Qingqing, what's wrong with you? Did you have a difficult birth? You don't want to be fine. I'm going to the vet. Qingqing was speechless for the second time. I haven't started giving birth yet. Isn't it generally called a veterinarian when giving birth? Parker breathed a sigh of relief. Scared the hell out of me. I thought you had a difficult birth. Only dystocia is called a veterinarian. But speaking of which, Parker's tears couldn't stop falling again. But it didn't help to call. Or come back. Curtis glanced at him. If the stupid leopard can't speak, don't speak. But Qingqing was already so frightened that his face turned pale. He had never seen a child. It's all up to you now. Suddenly, there was a churn in my stomach. It's like something is going to break through the belly and drill out. Labor pains gradually intensified. Qingqing couldn't stop trembling. Fine sweat pooled down her forehead. Looked at by Qingqing in pain, Curtis and Parker were distressed. Qingqing suddenly felt a strong feeling of falling in his abdomen. It hurts like flesh being torn off. A heart-rending scream followed. Parker and Curtis were horrified. Shouted Qingqing in unison. It's amazing. Bai Qingqing gave birth to a full 19 children. After a night of painful torture, Qingqing finally went into production. Snake eggs came out of Qingqing's belly. Curtis calculated. It's a good number. There are 19 of them. Parker on the side watched with a blank eye. I was very envious. That's nice. When will I have a litter of leopard cubs with Qingqing? Yi-Qing. Qing looked at the snake egg in front of him incredulously. My heart was touched. These are my children. At this time, Qingqing's face was full of the joy of becoming a first-time mother. Look at these snake eggs. It's like looking at babies in swaddling clothes. She couldn't help but reach out and want to touch these little creatures. Inside the egg, she couldn't see. There is a small hand. The hand also stretched out his fingers to sense the touch of his mother. In an instant, Qingqing retracted his hand violently. He was afraid that he would crush him if he was not careful. I have children. I'm a mom. How incredible. Suddenly, a hand appeared. Not too gentle, he took the egg away. Qingqing's eyes kept following Zhulan. Stopped at Curtis's side. He couldn't take his eyes off them for a moment. But after a night of pain, he was already seriously exhausted. He was lying on Curtis's snake's tail. Weakly opened his eyelids. I'm so tired. My mother will sleep first. Supporting the last word, Qingqing closed his eyes and fell asleep. Curtis and Parker just guarded Qingqing. Sat all night. Early the next morning, Qingqing discovered something terrible. Oops, which is the biggest? I don't remember. He leaned over and looked at the baby balls one by one. I want to memorize every single one of them. Curtis on the side laughed. You remember clearly. Qingqing replied distressedly. I don't remember exactly. I don't even see the difference between them. Baby, come out quickly. Mom won't confuse you. Soon he was unsure again. He probably won't get confused. The heavy rainy season is coming to an end. Heck, it's actually autumn. Qingqing hasn't had time to name the egg baby yet. He was taken by Curtis to the cave to hatch. There are only two people left in the family, Parker and Qingqing. Parker said, before the cold season comes, they need to store grain for the winter. And for next year, exchange salts to prepare. So he's going to hunt. Can't stay at home with Qingqing. Qingqing can't help but miss his old life. This time, it's time for winter break. At this time of year, I would go shopping with my friends, then wait for the New Year's money. In the blink of an eye, I became an adult with children, and so many more. Suddenly, he looked up at Parker. Why didn't he speak? I saw Parker looking ahead with a blank look. In fact, he was just worried about one problem. Now Qingqing is so beautiful. Curtis is not here again. The group of single males will definitely take the opportunity to stalk. Suddenly, Parker's eyes lit up. It's like remembering something. By the way, I forgot about him. Immediately, the gloom on his face disappeared. He happily took Qingqing's hand, said to take him to the Valley of the Humps. Wang Qingqing said casually, "What to do in the Hump Valley?" Parker's expression suddenly became depressed again. "Take you breathable. Then, by the way, call the tiger to protect you." Qingqing was worried. You say Vincennes is a troublemaker. Besides, no one knew that Curtis had gone to Fudan. They didn't dare to come and harass me. Parker was in a hurry. 1 day or 2. It won't be long before they'll get suspicious. Those single beasts are fat. Tempting will come at the risk of death. If I go hunting, you're the only one at home. It's too dangerous. Qingqing thought for a moment. I found that what Parker said was not wrong at all. She lowered her eyelids helplessly and said, "Okay then." Soon Parker was back to Hump Valley with Qingqing on his back. This is where they first met. Qingqing and Parker's hometown revisit the Hump Valley. I encountered 3.5 large leopard cubs blocking the way. The little leopard boy looked up at Qingqing, whining and whining. Bai Qingqing, a first-time mother. It's almost overturned by these 3 little cubs. It's so cute. Do you know me? Still know him. Parker saw his own cubs as if he were his own son. He teased. Maybe it's because you've just given birth. They smell it and ask you for milk. Qingqing's expression froze suddenly. The hands are unconsciously protected in front of the chest. I don't have that stuff if you want milk. Well, probably not. Parker's eyes widened at this point, too. His eyes looked straight at Qingqing's chest with inexplicable meaning. Qingqing's face immediately turned red. It was a slap in the face to Parker's head. What to see? Parker touched half of his red face aggrievedly. Qingqing, I'm not Parker. I was about to say something. Suddenly, I heard a magnetic voice calling Sai. Approaching the two of them, they forgot about their voices. There was a hint of surprise in Qingqing's eyes. Qingqing turned out to be the female orc Eve. She saw Bai Qingqing with a happy expression. Qingqing was also very happy to see Eve. Eve was one of the few orcs she knew. The kindest. The two little sisters interlocked their fingers excitedly. There was a burst of cheers. "It's really you," I said. "How did the boys run?" "Yes, it's been a long time," Qingqing said and looked at the leopard cub. "Wow, they're growing so fast," and screamed in the soft and glutinous Chow Qingqing. The pale yellow leopard eyes are moist and moist. Qingqing's heart is about to be sprouted. He's even happier. These leopard cubs really got together because they knew themselves. That's when it happened. Behind him, another unfriendly female voice came. "Yo, isn't that the female who was snatched away by stray beasts?" Qingqing listened to the voice and looked back. How is this female a little familiar? The female turned to look at Parker. Yin and Yang continued in a strange way. Some orcs just don't know what to do. If only I could be my male. I can have a baby child. but the heart is extremely unbalanced hostile. Damn, when did Parker become a tribun? Qingqing then remembered. Isn't this Eudora? The one who offered to give Parker a cub? Parker seems to be annoying, though. All he heard was Parker's sneer. Then he said, I like Qingqing. It's not for the sake of having a baby. Then he turned to Eudora's male and mocked. I wish each of you a litter. Eudora was immediately angry and gritted her teeth. There was nothing to say. I only dare to curse in my heart. They don't even take me seriously. In the end, he could only turn around angrily, yelled at his man, and told us to go. I secretly said to myself, I want to see how long you can be proud. Eudora walked away. Eve said Qingqing coaxingly, ignore him. Gave birth to a litter of cubs, and the tail went up to heaven. Do you know? After you're gone, he spends his days asking people how to grill your kind of meat. But the grilled food is unpalatable. He also asked me to learn how to make fish hot pot. I won't tell him. Who made him always gloat that you were snatched away by stray beasts. Fortunately, I didn't expect this Eudora to be not only ugly. The heart is still bad. He laughed and said thank you to Eve. Yes. We didn't tell him. The two little sisters quickly forgot about the unpleasantness. Happily chatted back home. Then they came to a wooden house. It was the same room where Parker and Qingqing lived before. Eve saw Qingqing stop here. Immediately reminded us to go. The room was already occupied by a Sven tiger. Qingqing and Parker returned to the cabin in Hum Valley. The orc, Eve kindly reminded. The cabin was occupied by a Sven tiger. Qingqing listened to Eve's words. Rest assured. It should be Vincent, that's right. She then turned her head to reassure Eve that she was not afraid. I know her. Qingqing stepped forward and knocked on Vincent. Are you in there? But at this time the house was empty. Qingqing knocked for a moment. Looking back, it seems that she has no words. Before he finished speaking, he heard Vincent's voice. Vincent saw Bai Qingqing. The eyes are straight. A heart flutters and beats faster and faster. She spat out uncertainly that it was really you. He excitedly stepped forward and asked, Are you here for me? Eve on the side, by the burly tiger beast in front of him. Frightened, he took 3 steps back. A bean-sized cold sweat slipped down his forehead. The 3 leopard cubs in the bamboo basket were also frightened. The round body trembled. Eve hurriedly turned around. Say Qingqing in a trembling voice. I'll go back first. We'll talk about it next time. Qingqing hurriedly smiled and said goodbye. But I couldn't help but guess in my heart. Is Eve scared of Vincent? Then, Qingqing walked up to Vincent to say hello, and he hadn't seen him for a long time. How are you lately? Vincent heard Qingqing's concern. Suddenly blushed. I stammered a little when I spoke. Long time no. Wait for Vincent to finish. Parker hugged Qingqing to his side domineeringly. His eyes were very unfriendly and looked at the white tiger, but soon changed to a pleading expression. Are you available? I'm going hunting. No one takes care of Qingqing. Vincent was immediately stunned. A violent burst of joy welled up in my heart. Can you justifiably appear by Qingqing's side? When he came back to his senses, he immediately affirmed that he knew. I'll go back with you. Vincent's reaction moved Qingqing's heart for a while. His eyes were downcast. I whispered a thank you. Then he was hugged by Parker and walked in front. The white tiger behind him looked at the 2 close ones. There was not a trace of sadness on his face. On the contrary, there is a joy that cannot be hidden. Qingqing, I can finally protect you again. That's how life went. The weather is getting cooler. All are desperately hunting. Prepare for winter. This kind of time, the disadvantages of having fewer partners in Qingqing come out. Parker and Vincent take turns going out hunting. Sometimes it's too busy. Qingqing is sewing animal skins at home. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound outside the house. There are also people shouting that the ice is off. Qingqing was puzzled. Does ice mean snow? So he got up and prepared to go out to see what was going on. He stood in the doorway. Look at the ground. There doesn't seem to be snow either. Could it be hail? Suddenly, his eyes widened in horror. The next second, Parker rushed over, the place where Qingqing left with him. And then there's something ice blue, landed at the place where Qingqing had just been stationed, exploded, and Parker held Qingqing tightly under him, blocked the splash of crushed ice with his back. Everything happened so fast. Qingqing's eyes widened blankly, absolutely unaware of what was going on. Have you ever seen hail that can kill people? Just now, Qingqing was almost hit by the ice falling from the sky. At the last moment, Parker flashed and took Qingqing away, only to escape. Parker grabbed Qingqing's shoulder and yelled, "What are you doing?" Then he was afraid and hugged the person into his arms. The voices were filled with weeping. "Scared the hell out of me." Qingqing's eyes widened suddenly. It's as if you've seen something terrible. I saw ice cubes the size of grapefruit falling from the sky. The ground was smashed into a huge pit. Qingqing recalled the scene just now. Pale face. Tears welled up in his eyes. He leaned on Parker's shoulder, choked up and stammered. "I was wrong. I didn't mean to. I do not know." Parker Pine celebrates, asked with concern, "You're not hurt, are you?" Qingqing whined. Without Parker's heart, he finally let go. "You idiot," Parker said dotingly. Then he picked up Bai Qingqing. Qingqing looked at Parker, suddenly decided to tell him where he came from. The words have reached the throat. "Actually, I just spoke. I saw Vincent on the side." He bowed his head again and swallowed the words back into his stomach. The heart of defense is indispensable. What's more, Vincent is an orc who has the potential to become a king. Identities are particularly sensitive, so I can't say it to Vincent's face. At this time, Vincent's face was solemn. "I'm glad I live somewhere. Why for these? Common sense knows nothing, unless he was kept in the basement all the time as a child. Otherwise, it is impossible not to have seen such a natural scene as Xiaobing. But it is impossible for females to be subjected to such bad treatment." Vincent closed his eyes. Countless pictures flashed through my mind one by one. The last barren red world remained in my mind. Could it be that Qingqing is from Yinqing, the city of iniquity? Life is all about uncomfortable people who hate females, because they are all outcasts from females. So in order to take revenge, rob females everywhere as playthings. Even their own children are not treated well, and they are all fierce and vicious masters. Even a strong man like Vincent went to Nai to retrieve the female. All gave up because they were outnumbered. Vincent thought, Qingqing most likely escaped from Yinqing. It's painfully tight, clenched fists endlessly. The muscles flare. If he really escaped from Yinqing. If it's true, I must put those who insult him. All the bones were scattered. Suddenly, Parker sighed helplessly. You and I don't dare to let go of you. I'm afraid you'll stupidize yourself if I'm not paying attention." Speaking of which, Parker noticed Vincent's murderous intent at this time. Parker couldn't beat it again. I can only pretend to be casual and walk forward gently. Don't be like this, Curtis, in the future. The moment of passing by, Vincent asked. Parker and Qingqing are on business. Did Vincent find anything? Parker didn't dare to react much. Immediately pretend to be casual and speak. Who knows? When the rainy season was over, he left. I saw Vincent's thick silver eyebrows furrowed. There was extreme disgust in his eyes. He is Qingqing's companion. Should be good to him. Vincent's implication. Apparently blaming Curtis for his absence. Qingqing immediately waved his hand to defend Curtis. Not the Curtis Cold Trail is going to sleep. That's why I left. After a pause, he asked Vincent not to tell anyone. Vincent was immediately stunned. He didn't expect that. Qingqing actually told himself such an important thing. This trust warmed his heart. Well, I don't tell anyone. As he spoke, he hurriedly turned around. Don't let Qingqing notice the change in his expression. Not for a while. Qingqing and Parker walked into the bedroom. Vincent slowly hid behind him, take it out with a clenched hand. I saw that the palm of the palm looked like a mouth of different depths. The moment he opened his palm, blood suddenly seeped down as if it had been unsealed. He swore in his heart that I would protect you. We will never let you suffer any more. After an ice storm, temperatures plummeted. Large snowflakes are slowly falling, covered everything with a white quilt. Qingqing. It has also been replaced with a thick silver fur collar. She held out her hand in the animal skin skirt. Catch a snowflake the size of a bowl. He couldn't help but exclaim. Look at the strange natural landscapes of the orc world. His face was filled with excitement that could not be hidden. He opened his arms excitedly. Running around the yard, there was a burst of laughter like silver bells. It's so beautiful. Suddenly, a man behind him walked over and helped him put on his hat. He quickly turned around. It turned out to be Parker. He wrapped Qingqing's hand in it with both hands, gave him a warm enthusiasm. Your hands are so ice. Stop playing in the snow. Let's go into the house at this time. From the center of the city came a few long, steady wolf howls. The three of them looked out in unison. Qingqing couldn't help muttering such a big movement in his heart. Is there something going on? He asked, turning to look at Vincent at the door. Vincence's voice seemed different. Is there something going on? Vincent explained. Yuan Wang brewed a magical jam. The body will be very warm after drinking. Summarized for the first time every year. The Yuan King would give jam to the females, lest they get frostbite. Parker's words hurriedly told Qingqing that let's go to Yuanbao. Qingqing guessed that drinking jam would cause fever. How is it so much like wine? Parker, let's go. I'd love to taste what that jam is. Before leaving, Qingqing didn't forget to ask Vincent if he wanted to go with him. Vincent was immediately overjoyed. I didn't wait for Vincent to finish. Parker got home first. Someone has to look at Vincent. The excitement on Wen Yan's face was instantly extinguished. After some thought, he could only say that he stayed to look after the house. But the feeling of loss is palpable. Parker hugged Qingqing and left. Then here we go. Vincent immediately responded with a smile and a squeeze in response. A cold wind was blowing. Every breath was tinged with a white mist. At this time, Parker had already walked to the gate of Yuanwang Fort with Qingqing in his arms, surrounded by female orcs held in the arms of males. Qingqing's eyes widened. I am marveling at the majesty of Yuanwang Fort. Not far away, Correction was talking to another orc. Inadvertently raised his eyes to see Qingqing. His heart suddenly fluttered. The tail shook wildly. He raised his hand and greeted Qingqing warmly. Qingqing saw Xiao Yi, responded politely. Immediately Xiao said that he would lead the way. Parker hugged Qingqing and walked inside after Xiao. Qingqing looked up and saw the huge dome. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. This craft in this civilized and backward world. It looks extremely luxurious. Suddenly, King Yuan came over. Behind him were two wolf orcs who looked the same. King Yuan opened his mouth and said, "You are finally here." Qingqing saw King Yuan immediately get off Parker. Polite greetings. King Yuan looked at Bai Qingqing, a smile on his face. "Get on in. It's warm inside, but it's not big in the house. The males should not follow in, dealing with an unfamiliar environment alone." Qingqing suddenly felt uneasy. He looked up at Parker with some hesitation. Aside, the building immediately turned his head and comforted you. "Don't be afraid. I'm in charge of delivering food. I can go in and watch you." Parker wants Qingqing to drink rare jam. "Let's go in comfortingly, too. I'll be waiting for you outside." Qingqing trembled and followed Hugh inside. Hugh took Qingqing to a room. "Here it is." Suddenly, a mocking magnetic voice came from you. "You're embarrassed to come here." Qingqing searched for a voice. Saw Rosa, standing in front of him with a look of superiority. Suddenly, Rosa smiled wickedly, secretly said by Qingqing in his heart, "Make you look good today." The road is narrow. Qingqing met the tigress Luo Sha again. As soon as they met, Rosa began to taunt Vincent for being there with you. You're ready to accept him. A group of female orcs leaned against the wall. Prepare to eat melons. In the face of Rosa's taunts, Qingqing replied to him angrily. Isn't it the one you drove away? You don't care where he is. With whom? Qingqing finished speaking. Rasha's wolf cub immediately roared at his chest. Hugh on the side saw Qingqing being bullied. Suddenly his face was gloomy. I saw blue light in his eyes. The pupils turn into a straight line and look at the cub. Weak, pitiful, and helpless little wolf cub, immediately frightened and hugged his mother's legs. Rosa immediately pointed the finger at Xiaobei again, and it was in vain. It is impossible for Bai Qingqing to take a fancy to you. Don't you see who his males are? Then he said with a smirk, even Vincent and the stray beasts. The ambition is really not small. Such females are only worthy of drinking what is left of others. Speaking of slamming the jam in the bowl at Bai Qingqing, carefully repaired and dodged in front of Qingqing. Protect him tightly, but splash jam on his back. Flew to the surrounding females. Qingqing hurriedly asked Vincent with concern, are you okay? Immediately after that, his eyes glared at Rakshasa too much. That's it. Qingqing heard Parker's voice outside the door. Put me in. Didn't you hear the movement inside? Hugh immediately stared in the direction of the door. Just listen to the boom. The wooden door broke in response. Parker stood in the doorway. Just put down the foot that kicked the door. The two guards at the door were shocked and at a loss. Oh, go and call King Yuan. Parker looked flustered in the crowd. Find Qingqing's figure. He ran forward, grabbed Qingqing's shoulder. You're okay. I'm outside. Hear movement inside. Qingqing hurriedly comforted Parker and told me what had just happened. Parker immediately turned to look at Rosa, thinking about Qingqing's grievances. Parker's glass-colored eyes shone golden, gritted his teeth, and glared at the tigress. Just outside the stall door where the scene is uncontrollable, the figure of King Yuan appeared. Hades approached Yuan. He asked with a calm face what was going on. Hades' eyes were like torches. It didn't take long to find out. I saw Rakshasa and Parker. He was glaring at each other angrily. A posture that is about to start fighting in the next second. Hades is afraid of many people. Hades' Chun Sheng dispersed the crowd. The house is no longer warm. The female who has received the pulp will go back. Then he turned around and put on a kind expression. Said to Qingqing, you should go back quickly. Don't get frostbite. Qingqing clenched his fists. Angrily said that Rosa splashed people with fruit pulp. Shouldn't it be punished? Shouldn't you apologize? Hades had not yet spoken. Rosa sneered and opened her mouth to punish. I'm a female. Who dares to punish me? Then he raised his chin again, smugly continued, there is only one punishment for females in our longevity city. It is to sell to small tribes. But don't forget, my father was the Tiger King. Even if you sell it, you can't sell it on my head. Qingqing clenched his fists angrily. Parker put his arm around Qingqing's shoulders. Rosa glanced coldly. Forced to endure Sha-Yi, and Qingqing said, let's go back. Rosa took the opportunity to laugh at Parker again. Male. Sex must not show signs that harm the female. Otherwise, they will be expelled forever. Parker counts you as you. I will also be afraid. Parker looked at Rosa wariously. Xiang Qingqing swore that I would protect you. Never give him a chance to hurt you. Absolutely not. Speaking of which, Parker made up his mind in his heart. Even if expelled, I'll take care of you. How do I feel that Bai Qingqing is showing mercy everywhere? Just now, because Rosa bullied Bai Qingqing. Parker almost couldn't help but make a move on Rosa. In the end, Hades stepped in to calm the turmoil. Murder revenge. Bai Qingqing couldn't do it. Chi's posterior molars are about to wear through. Parker was always vicious, glaring at the tigress who bullied her own Qingqing. At this time, Qingqing suddenly turned his head and said to Hugh, My portion of the fruit syrup is for you to drink. Don't catch a cold. He was simply flattered. He waved his little hand in a panic. You drink, you drink. I've fine. Qingqing smiled and said that he was going home. Parker on the side looked at the wolf beast with a spring on his face. Frowned. It seems that this wolf cub still hasn't given up on Qingqing. He hurriedly swore an oath and hugged Bai Qingqing. Qingqing, let's go home. At this time, Hades turned his head. With a serious expression, he asked Rosa to go back quickly. Rosa skinky face stole. Indignantly, Vincent was completely on his side. Will you help me or not? Hades immediately coaxed. I'll follow your father. It's very close to you males. Nature is towards you. It's okay to just tease him. Don't hurt him. His fertility is very good. Rosa's face softened, but the face was full of disdain. It's just a nest of snake eggs. Hades said that he could feel Qingqing. It will definitely rain again next year, and hopefully a litter of leopards. Hearing this, Rosa was unhappy again. He said with a gloomy face, who knows? As he spoke, he clenched his angry little fists and turned away. After Rosa left, King Yuan immediately changed his disgusted expression, scolding stupidity. Then King Yuan walked to a door, looking ahead expectantly. He continued to walk in, stand in front of the two curtains, and stop. I just heard a voice from behind the curtain, and I wanted a filter. When are you going to give it to me? Hades immediately said in a low voice. It's almost time for me to take control of the city of 10,000 beasts. Get enough lenses. Surely the three-striped beast will spawn. Then I will be able to hunt and kill the herbivorous beasts with my mental power. I can give you as many filters as you want. There was a moment of silence inside. An exasperated rebuttal was heard. You said that 10 years ago. I don't believe your rhetoric. Don't give me filters again. I'm going to find another male. King Yuan also raised his voice. Believe me, I immediately changed my sinister face. Continued, Wanshou City is about to be in chaos. By this time, Qingqing and Parker had already returned home. As soon as you enter the door, Qingqing snorted angrily. I only found out today. Females are more savage than males. It's just whatever you want. Wild. When Yen Parker reproached himself. It's me who was bad. Didn't protect you. Qingqing just turned his head slightly and said it has nothing to do with you. Then go to the fire and sit down. Do you have cold feet? I'll give you warmth. Parker said, hold Qingqing's feet in his arms. His eyes stared straight at Qingqing's red face. Suddenly, a scarlet blush crept up Parker's cheek. She said softly, I want to be with you, Yin. Shyness flashed across Qingqing's face. Raise your head sharply. Parker was blushing, said Qingqing with a begging look. I want to have a leopard with you right now. Is it okay? Qingqing stared at him with wide eyes. Keep the sound very low. Is Vincent still there? Parker hung his head slightly. The voice suddenly weakened. I'm afraid that Curtis will wake up later. This Mr. Leopard. And this human girl. Can we pay attention to the occasion? Consider how my family Vincent feels. Listen to what you have to say. Qingqing wants to have a hug with you now. Is it okay, my God? Qingqing, you actually nodded impressed. This made Parker very excited. Those golden eyes flashed with a scorching light in an instant. Illuminates the whole body. Immediately got up and prepared to pick up Bai Qingqing, the white tiger who has no scruples about the fire next to him. Just before entering the bedroom, Qingqing opened his mouth and said, alas. Wait, just listen to Qingqing's voice and whisper to me if you hear it. I'm going to take a shower. Parker heard, immediately turned to Vincent and said, Cellar. Chai Qingqing wants to take a bath. Vincent looked at a tool man with a blank expression. Roared back. Not long in the room. There was a passionate exchange like this flame. That's it. Parker guarded himself as a boy for 18 years. In a sincere heart of love. It was delivered to the girl he loved. When Bai Qingqing woke up, it was already early the next morning. She opened her eyes. I saw Parker, who was smiling and bent his eyebrows, propping up his chin. Ambiguous good morning. Qingqing hurriedly twisted his head to the side shyly. Shrunk down and shrunk good morning. Just hear Parker's happy grin. Said I'd already seen where the beast prints were. Qingqing was surprised. The beast pattern did not wait for her to react. Parker took a hard bite into Qingqing's mouth. Go on, my beast print is in your heart. I knew you liked me the most. Qingqing looked shocked. Not happy at all. She frantically lifted the hide. It's done with the double checks. When it's over, do you want Parker to hide for a while? I can't imagine it. How Curtis would react when he saw this beast mark. That's when it happened. Vincent's voice outside the door interrupted Qingqing's musings. I boiled hot water. Bai Qingqing was embarrassed and ashamed. She won't be listening all the time. Please give me a hole in the ground. Thank you, Parker, for not caring about any of this in the slightest. She got up and kissed Qingqing on the head affectionately. I'm going to catch a short-winged bird. Stewed for you. Supplemental corrections. Only Bai Qingqing and Wen's son were left in the house. Qingqing knelt sideways and sat aside, nervously picking at his fingers. He tentatively asked Vincent if he had slept well yesterday. Vincent immediately replied well, when Bai Qingqing quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, Vincenz didn't hear anything. Parker and I don't seem to be moving very much. However, Vincent's next words made the water that Bai Qingqing just drank in his mouth instantly out of control. Squirted him in the face. Just listen to his serious explanations. You're done when it's dark. So slept well. Qingqing didn't dare to look at Vincent's face. Covering his blushing face, he said sorry. Good thing at this time. Parker walked in from outside. Qingqing, did you eat a short-winged bird a few days ago? Qingqing immediately replied no. What's wrong? I saw Parker carrying a short-winged bird with its head drooping. Said he was bitten to death. Vincent's brow furrowed. The cubs of the Rakshasa should have done it. They were here last night. I patronized the orcs who chase away the peeping. Didn't care about them. Glad was furious. An angry fist slammed into the table. It must have been instructed by an adult. Wuong Fort is so far away from us. How could a couple of freshly weaned cubs find here? This matter can't just be left at that. Seeing Qingqing so angry, Parker immediately offered to go to their father for a duel. Qingqing stared at Parker with curious eyes. Why are you going to duel with their father? Classical Chinese. Parker, who was about to leave, instantly weakened his legs. Otherwise, what else can be done? And you can't duel with cubs. Qingqing replied without thinking. Tell them to accompany me. Qingqing's words came out. Vincent and Parker conspire instantaneously, leaving behind embarrassing cold sweats. My girl is not a fool. Do you know what the world ditch is? Rosa instructed the cub to bite the short-winged bird of the Qingqing family. Leopards in the orc world. Parker said he was going to their father. Fight. Bai Qingqing, who is from modern society, said he did not understand. Why are they going to duel with their father? It would be nice to ask them to pay for it. Wenyan, Parker, and Vincent visualized Qingqing on the spot. Shrink back. Am I saying something wrong? What are your expressions? Parker sighed helplessly. Who taught you this set of logic? This is a territorial violation. Or drive away. Or spike. How would you give birth to let them accompany the food? Such a strange idea. Qingqing fell into deep thought. I don't want Parker to kill. And Parker may not be able to beat Rosa, the sanguine wolf beast. Is it so helpless to suffer? Come to think of it, Qingqing was so angry that he trembled. I don't care if the tears of grievance come out of my eyes. I want them to accompany me. Parker was distressed, hurriedly comforted, and said okay. Ask them to accompany. Then he got up and asked Vincent to take care of Qingqing. He goes and goes until the moon hangs high. Parker hasn't come back yet. A moment later, Parker stood in the doorway with a short-winged bird. Qingqing shouted Parker excitedly. You're finally back. I was trying to ask Vincent to show me them. Is it just like that? Qingqing said and ran to Parker. Parker's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Dead birds have the smell of young wolves on them. They can't get rid of it. Qingqing saw Parker's face, cautiously asked what they had said. I saw Parker pull the corners of his mouth coldly. The eyes are noisy with killing. The harsh words of Rakshasa reappeared in his memory. Although it is now the cold season, prey is hard to catch. But you can't even find this bit of food? Then he said to his partner next to him, go catch him a few short-winged birds. I can't even afford to eat this bit of meat. It's so pathetic, too. Then let Parker stand outside the door and wait. Parker, in order not to disappoint Qingqing, forced to endure the insult until late at night. In the end, they cursed in their mouths. Useless guy who threw the short-winged bird in front of Parker. Grab your birds. Get out of here, leaving Parker standing outside that door. Clenched fists of rage tightly. The painful memories kept Parker awake for a long time. Parker. Qingqing's cry pulls Parker back from his memories. In order not to worry Qingqing, Parker didn't say it. Immediately put on a smiling face. Rubbed Qingqing's head. Didn't say anything. It's late and go to bed. Qingqing looked at Parker worriedly. I wasn't asking. Just nodded obediently. Qingqing thought about Parker's aggrieved expression just now. It seems to have guessed 7 or 8 points. He wondered how to fight back. Surprise for Parker. Early the next morning, Qingqing squatted at the door to dig a trap. Vincent and Parker immediately stepped forward. They looked at Qingqing's strange behavior curiously. Qingqing, what are you doing? Bai Qingqing blurted out a trap. Parker immediately said that he had put so much effort into them. It's not worth catching and biting them next time. Qingqing rubbed his cheeks on the dirt splash. Continued, who knows when they will come, guarding them every day. What a lot of effort. In the end, the white tiger and the leopard couldn't resist. According to the design of Qingqing, at night, a deep pit was dug around the bird shed. Spread a thin layer of branches and leaves. There is also some dirt to cover up. One night more than 10 days later, wolf cubs. It appeared outside the bird shed. There are clouds in this fate. You don't educate your children well. There's always someone to do it for you. This is not in vain. Rosa's cub bites the short-winged bird to death. Parker won a claim, was mercilessly insulted by Rosa. Qingqing learns from modern people. Caught in the hunt. Traps were made. I only heard the sound of 2 knocks falling to the ground and reaching Qingqing's ears. Parker's ears are more sensitive. He also heard a sound. Hurriedly got up excitedly to check. Not for a while. Qingqing heard Parker's gloating from outside the house. Ha, see Parker. When he came back, Qingqing immediately asked how it was. Parker laughed and almost couldn't stand up. Ha, it's just that they're all falling. After laughing, Qingqing was a little unbearable. They didn't fall and get hurt. You let them out first. Parker reluctantly said no. More on that tomorrow. Qingqing is worried that the wolf cub will freeze to death. Persuaded again, Parker pressed Qingqing under the covers, while comforting that it won't. I'm measured. It's warm down there. It won't freeze them. Qingqing looked at Parker suspiciously for a moment. Then he sighed helplessly. Okay, I believe you. Early the next morning, loud roars and wolf howls could be heard outside the house. Mixed noises. I'm glad I was woken up in my sleep. He opened his eyes tiredly. A ghost sat up. He lifted the covers to check for something. Something happened in my heart. He hurriedly got up and ran out. He pushed open a crack in the door and looked out. Suddenly, my eyes widened in surprise at what I saw. I saw the dark outside of the house. Countless pairs of glowing red beast eyes were glaring at this side. Roared. The eerie sight frightened him and made him take a step back. Suddenly I felt my back hit something sturdy. Woke you up, I saw Parker say, and put his hand on Qingqing's shoulder. That's when it happened. Qingqing heard a voice and said, I found it. Found the cubs. Qingqing thought it was a beast. I heard someone talking. Qingqing was not so afraid. Accompanied by Parker, he walked towards the sound. A male orc is seen taking a wolf cub out of a trap. Then he handed the wolf cub to Rosa. Rosa saw the wolf cub, exclaimed cubs. Then he gritted his teeth and looked at Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing said angrily, "How dare you hurt a cub? I'm going to find Hades and sell you." Bai Qingqing returned the hand to his chest. A posture of who is afraid of whom. I'm digging a pit in my house, and it's up to you and whomever I want. Know your puppy. It's going to come all the way to our territory. It seems that this is not allowed. Vincent, who was standing on the side, looked at Bai Qingqing, who was a member of the team. The serious fox face couldn't help but smile. How could he be so cute? The expressions are also too fun. I'd love to see him do it again. At this time, the two females who came to see the excitement began to eat melons. Although it's weird to dig a hole at home, but this is their territory. How did those wolf cubs get here? Are you here to steal food? The other female immediately chimed in. Oh my God, Rosa's cub actually stole someone else's food. He has so many companions. Can't even feed the cubs? His males are too useless. Rosa listened to the crowd and was furious. The partners behind him feel that there is no punishment for fire. Rosa gritted her teeth and issued a threatening warning to Bai Qingqing. I'm telling you. As he spoke, he lifted his head. He had a very unusual expression. Go on, I'm definitely not going to make you feel better. Vincent and Parker kept Qingqing firmly behind them. The two glared at Rosa angrily. An expression of hatred that could not tear him up right now. I believe in Qingqing. As he spoke, he pushed Parker away and walked over to him. He looked at Rosa with a smile on his face. Slowly, you said, haven't you been doing this all the time? Right? The two men behind him opened their mouths in surprise. A small expression of fallen. Qingqing is really brave and knowledgeable. It's getting more and more fascinating. The inferiority complex of this white tiger seems to be in his bones. He felt, I don't even have the qualifications to add food to Qingqing. Look at his hands dangling in the air. It's really distressing. Just now, Rosa led the crowd to attack. Also threatened to sell Bai Qingqing to a small tribe. Under the guard of the Sandwind Tyrant and the Seawind Tiger Beast. There is also the blessing of public opinion of the people who eat melons. Bai Qingqing has a 3-inch tongue. Disgraced Rosa and his partner. In the end, he could only escape the scene with joy. Qingqing stared at Rosa's departing back. I was speechless. Suddenly, Parker picked up Bai Qingqing. Laughing and laughing, how did you come out with so little wear? You haven't slept yet. Well, go get some more sleep. After such a fuss, Qingqing is sleepy. He worriedly said that the cold season was over. I don't know what happened to Curtis. Parker eats a tight stomach. Curtis woke up. He can't sleep with Qingqing every day. He struggled to suppress the acid in his heart. The consolation should come out soon. Let's not disturb him. The fire is rising. What to eat today? One mention of eating, Qingqing immediately became happy. Let's eat hot pot. Cook a little more. Let's celebrate. Soon a hot pot of fish hot pot is ready. The aftertaste fills the room. The three of them were sitting together. It's like a new family of three. Qingqing is in line with the hospitality. Hand the full bowl to Vincent. You're welcome to be redundant. We're going to try to finish it. Do you know how to use chopsticks? I'll teach you. Vincent to stare straight at Bai Qingqing. I couldn't help but feel my heart beat faster. However, in the moment when he was stunned, Parker Hugh appeared, snatched the bowl from Qingqing's hand, immediately pushed Qingqing to the side. He smiled and said that you should eat fish. I taught him how to use it. Bai Qingqing immediately sensed Parker's jealousy. Yes, he's my partner. And I was so enthusiastic in front of Vincent. Seems a bit excessive. But Vincenz is my guardian again. Help me so much for free. Oh my God, it's a mess. Forget it. Let's eat some rice to cool off. Just when Qingqing was stunned, Parker on the side sandwiched a piece of Qingqing's favorite fish roe. Qingqing fish roe for you to eat. Parker said, "Put the fish roe in the celebration bowl." Qingqing looked at the fish roe in the bowl, immediately laughed and blossomed. Vincent immediately caught a heavy one, to information that Qingqing likes to eat fish roe. Then Vincent began to use unskilled techniques. Use chopsticks to poke, and poke wildly on the belly of the fish. The smell of fish made him swallow unconsciously. But his only thought now is fish roe. Caviar roe. I'm going to find roe for Qingqing. After a battle with roe, he finally managed to pick up a whole piece of roe. Excitedly, he turned around and handed out the chopsticks. Qingqing is sandwiched with fish roe. The hands suddenly stopped in midair. He saw the two people close in front of him. There is a look of talking and laughing. Swallowed the words back. Yes, I seem to have forgotten that I don't have this qualification, but I can look at it quietly like this. It's enough to know that you're happy at the moment, just close to you. It seems to warm me up when I stay by your side. If you can, may fate be merciful to me, because I just want to go to the end of time with you, in whatever capacity. No generation. That's what we're talking about. Repeatedly violated Qingqing's territory. Finally, he made himself a meal for the belly of the snake and beast. On this day, Qingqing took advantage of the fact that the weather was still bright. I can't help but play in the snow in the yard. Just rolled 2 small snowballs. Was hugged by Parker from behind. How did it come out? Xiaoxin is frostbitten. Qingqing hurriedly and earnestly said that he was not cold. Parker looked at Qingqing's little hand, which was red from the cold. Seriously, the hands are all icy. It was also said that it was not cold. Qingqing immediately coquettishly said that it was really not cold. I just want to build a snowman. Sure enough, coquettish women are the best. Parker immediately doted on by Qingqing and hugged him well. Then I'll help you. What shape do you want to pinch? Pinch a big ball as your head first. Qingqing's voice just fell. Parker immediately pounced towards the snow. A grunt tumble. Success has turned itself into a big snowball. This made Qingqing look to the side. Vincent is working hard to chop wood. Leave the family alone. I can't say it's okay to work. So Qingqing waved his arms vigorously at the white tiger. Shout out, Vincent. Come and build a snowman. The leopard that was snowballing heard. Immediately, the alarm bell rang in my heart. He hurriedly struggled to roll the invincible snowball. Go to Qingqing's side to ask for credit. Qingqing, I'll sit down for you here. Vincent, who has a dull personality, still with a serious expression. What do you want me to do? Qingqing immediately said excitedly, you should make a snowball too. We each make a snowman. Then, give Curtis another one. By the way, the egg babies have to do it too. With the joint efforts of the trio, the 3 giant snowmen were quickly piled up. By the way, can you tell who's who? Qingqing poked the egg baby made of snow with his hand. I was inexplicably sad. It's a pity that the technology is not enough. Otherwise, you can do what they do out of their shells. I want to see the balls break their shells. Parker on the side heard. Immediately comforted, I'll tell Curtis later. Break the shell quickly. The stonemason looked at Qingqing and listened to it, and he could watch the baby hatch. Immediately, I was happy again. That night, a black shadow scurried into the nest of the short-winged bird. Immediately afterward, a terrible short-winged bird screamed. It's endless again. Qingqing slammed the door from inside and came out with an angry bang. Then he saw a young wolf biting the short-winged bird's neck. He looked at Bai Qingqing defiantly. Then leave the short-winged bird aside. This time, the wolf cub obviously didn't come to steal food. Instead, they came to make trouble. Qingqing was immediately angry and cried. Damn, these wolf beasts are just too bullying. Parker on the side was helpless in the face of the cubs. Because Wansho City has rules. Only females and cubs are not negotiable. Otherwise, they will be expelled. These Parkers were not finished. I was interrupted by something. Qingqing looked at the front with wide eyes. Saw. Curtis used his stomach to take a mischievous wolf directly. squeeze out the ketchup. Then he curled up another one with the snake's tail and sent it to his mouth. Swallow with a grunt. Curtis's tail. All that was left was a handful of gray wolf hair. Qingqing was so frightened that his whole expression stiffened. Co. Even Parker and Vincent, who were on the side, broke out in a cold sweat. Curtis eats the beast. This is the end of the calf. Barbecue. The snake beast ate Rosa's cub. Curtis, you've gone too far. Trouble to look back. 3 faces in the back. Shocked, Qingqing finally came back to his senses. Tremblingly, he said, "Can you spit it out?" Curtis said that snakes do not have the function of feeding. Qingqing looked at Curtis. A flat stomach is full of inflow. I guess everything I eat is squeezed into compressed biscuits. This time it's really a calf. Qingqing was hurting his brain. The face was held up by Curtis's icy hand. Seeing Qingqing is rounder than when he is pregnant with a snake egg. The handsome face finally smiled. But Qingqing couldn't laugh at this time. She broke down and shouted that they weren't wolves. "It's a little orc," Curtis replied with a nonchalant expression. I knew it was the cub of the tiger-footed female. Suddenly, Curtis's eyes were cold. A shallow smile, full of murderous intent, was revealed. "Go on, but my female is too good a bully." Although very impressive. But Qingqing still couldn't calm down. "That's not the point. It's you who eat other people's cubs. Give it back to others." Qingqing's voice just fell. I heard a boom. The sound of the beast running was approaching rapidly. The 3 of them hurriedly looked out of the courtyard gate. Saw. Rakshasa appeared on a large cheetah. "See, Curtis." Rosa had an extremely ominous premonition. He jumped off the leopard's back in a panic. "Where's my cub? Where are my wolf cubs? Where have you hidden them?" Qingqing didn't know what to do. He replied and thought to himself. Curtis looked poised. There must be a way to deal with it. But no. Curtis just coldly threw out the 3-word proverb. I swallowed the words. Rakshasa was immediately stunned. He trembled. The wide-eyed eyes were filled with fear. He couldn't believe his ears. "No, it won't. It won't be like this. You don't dare. You don't dare." Suddenly, the figure of a male orc flashed, rushed towards Curtis. Rosa shouted Bart from behind. But the wolf beast, who had lost its cubs, had lost its mind. He drew standing claws, desperately attacking Curtis. Bart jumped to his feet. With a fist, he was about to smash Curtis. Curtis's red eyes. Suddenly, there was a terrifying red light. He raised his hand, easily choked the wolf beast's throat. The corners of Bart's mouth instantly flowed red liquid. He struggled with his hands to break free. However, the next second, they only heard the creak of my own muscles being forcibly broken. Rosa saw the scene. Scream of radical despair. If it weren't for the 2 orcs in the way, maybe he's going to go up and die too. On the ground, Bart reached out to reveal the prototype. A pool of bright red slowly spread around him. Glad I was so frightened by the bloody scene that I covered my eyes. Under the double blow of losing a cub and a partner, Rosa no longer has the arrogance she had before. He wept in despair. Rakshasa made one of his trial-striped beast companions look at Vincent. Blame Vincent. Our females are threatened. Are you just watching from the sidelines? There was a little doubt in the white tiger's eyes, and a hint of sadness. He spoke slowly, my clan. I seem to have been driven out of the tiger clan by him a long time ago. Speaking of which, Vincent's eyes became determined. He continued, and I wasn't watching. I've always been on Qingqing's side. The wolf beast was choked and said no. At this time, Rosa was already crying and could not stand steadily. He leaned against the wolf beast and sobbed. Go and call my father, the wolf king Hades. I'm going to get them to avenge my boy and my partner. What Bai Qingqing feared the most still happened. Rosa for revenge. Find the 4 beast kings of the 10,000 beast city to preside over justice. Rosa saw the Tiger King. It's like seeing a savior. He immediately rushed forward. A handful of snot and a handful of tears sued his father. They ate my cubs. You're going to avenge my cubs. The Tiger King saw Rosa crying like this, immediately angry. But at first glance, the opponents are all Sven beasts. I didn't dare to rush straight up, turning his head to look at King Yuan for help. He also invited King Yuan to administer justice. King Yuan looked at Curtis and the others. After thinking for a moment, he asked, "Did you really kill the cubs?" Bai Qingqing lowered his head weakly and didn't dare to answer. Curtis on the side, "How can you tolerate such questioning of your own Qingqing?" He looked at King Yuan. I swallowed the calm opening of the mouth. "Why do you want to talk to me, a stray beast, about the rules?" Directly right. The three kings had nothing to say. Seeing this, Rosa hurriedly continued to fan the flames. "Hades are all Bai Qingqing's fault. You sell him. There will be no danger of stray beasts in our longevity city. Otherwise, it is not known how many cubs have been eaten." Curtis walked to the front with a smirk. Some impatiently said that if you want to fight, you will fight. What nonsense! The little character behind him immediately roared. Make an offensive stance. Seeing this, Vincent did not hesitate to stand beside Curtis. Fiercely looked at the other side. The Tiger King saw that his younger brother was on the opposing side. A look of shock. He had no choice but to turn around and look at King Yuan again. "What are you waiting for?" King Yuan decided to analyze the situation. "If you do it, the Leopard King must help his son Guamping. The Wolf King and the Tiger King couldn't beat Curtis and Vincent at all." Suddenly, he said Curtis had a point. As soon as the words came out, the Tiger King and the Rakshasa suddenly felt five thunders. Curtis is not a resident of longevity. This is Bai Qingqing's residence. It's also his territory. Naturally, you don't have to follow our rules. Hades' words a little bit wiped out Rosa's hopes. He looked at Hades in disbelief. "What did you say?" Rosa said that she was about to rush to find the Hades theory. Was stopped by his own father. He continued to shout at King Yuan, "They had eaten my cubs. Is that all?" But King Yuan's answer sounded helpless. "But it smells of ruthlessness. Just listen to him and take care of his cubs. Don't just go into other people's territory." Rosa shook her head, staggered back. His legs were so weak that he almost fell to the ground. The Valley King helped Rosa, looked at her daughter distressfully. I don't know how to comfort them. In the end, he could only speak helplessly. "Let's go back." Rosa has lost all hope. Strings of tears flowed down his eyes. The fiercely clenched fist suddenly clenched slightly. He scratched his hair like crazy. Let the snot and tears flow. His mouth just kept repeating Bai Qingqing. King Bai Qingqing was worried that Rosa would do something stupid. Persuade like this. Was stunned by Rosa's fierce expression. "Bai Qingqing, I won't let you go. I gambled with my life." "Swear," Rosa said, trembling and standing up. Then he pointed at Bai Qingqing with his finger. He said again cursedly, "I'm going to make you pay. I want you to pay with blood." Bai Qingqing's 19 snake eggs finally hatched. This episode tells the story of a little snake looking for its mother. Just now, Rosa left angrily after letting go of the harsh words. Bai Qingqing suddenly remembered something. He hurriedly ran forward to chase after Parker's father, the Leopard King. "Wait," he first politely thanked the Leopard King for coming. Then he asked curiously, "But how do you know about our side?" The Leopard King didn't say. The words only pointed to the finger piece with his gaze. Qingqing followed the Leopard King's gaze. "It seems that something has been discovered. I saw the figure of a black eagle in the air passing quickly, soaring into the sky, disappear into the darkness." Qingqing retracted his gaze, asked if it was her. The Leopard King nodded, still didn't speak, and then it was gone. Qingqing looked up again, muttered in his mouth that it was fungus. Parker didn't care, regardless of his cold outside. "Let's go inside." That's when Curtis came over too. He put his arm around Qingqing's shoulder. Soft voice Xiaobai. "Don't you want to see the weasel snake?" I pump the heat. Make them hatch early. When Yankinkin's eyes lit up, surprise exploded on the face. Really? Where are they? Kurdistan had a sudden surge. Xiaobai was not so happy to see me. Curtis was heard in the bedroom. Qingqing couldn't wait to pull out his legs and run. He ran to the bedroom door and shouted excitedly for the baby. Then the next second, his face was not very good. I saw a dozen small snakes on the ground, slowly crawl towards Qingqing. Qingqing's legs suddenly weakened with fright. He kept cheering himself on. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. It's not scary at all. The little snake is soft and cute. Qingqing finally succeeded in brainwashing herself. He smiled, gently called the baby. Then he raised his feet and walked forward cautiously. He leaned over and spread his arms. Make a hug gesture. Introduce yourself to the baby as gently as possible. I'm a mom. A snake stared at Bai Qingqing for a while. The moment I saw him reach out for a hand, fry the hair immediately. Open your mouth and hiss, and you're about to attack. Bai Qingqing was taken aback. Panicked back. Almost fell. Fortunately, he was dragged by Curtis. He put his arms around Qingqing's waist. Pick him up by the waist. Then he coldly glanced at each of the little snakes. Spit out sex. Issue an icy warning. The little snake, who was taught by his father, suddenly felt aggrieved. He drooped his head. Go to the other side. Qingqing also felt a little aggrieved. I will give birth to you in the first month of my mother's pregnancy. You're trying to bite me. Come to think of it. He asked Curtis if they didn't know me. Curtis hurriedly comforted that the little snake had just broken its shell. I'll make them recognize your taste. They won't mess around. Qingqing thought for a moment. Even if it's a human cub who was pregnant for 10 months. I didn't know my mother when I was born. I don't feel so uncomfortable when I think about it like this. Also deep in thought was the white fox behind him. Only then did she realize that Curtis had been at home all along. In his heart, it seems that this snake beast is not bad. In order to stay by Qingqing's side, actually hibernate in an unsafe place. Just thinking about it, Vincent's face suddenly became solemn, and that was it. There's no reason for me to stay here. Crossing the girl by Qingqing officially started the feeding life of the snake's son. The smooth steamed egg is blown warm and handed to the little snake's mouth. Unexpectedly, the little snake opened its mouth and cooed and ate, seeing that the son was willing to eat what he had fed. But Bai Qingqing was excited, hurriedly turned his head to share the joy with the child's father. Curtis, you see him eat. He ate Curtis and looked at Qingqing. There's still a lot of love in his eyes. This is Vincent's figure. Look at them from afar. Vincent's eyes were mixed with a lot. There is envy of Curtis in the hour. There is a love for Bai Qingqing, who exudes the brilliance of motherhood. There is also a hint of sadness about the imminent goodbye. He mustered up the courage to step forward. Curtis soon spotted Vincent approaching. Thinking about that time, White Tiger did not hesitate to stand on the same front with himself. Curtis didn't overreact. Just look up at him. Originally, Vincent had just come to clean up the dishes and chopsticks he had eaten on the table. Qingqing looked at Vincent like a servant. It's hard to feel sick. He asked him not to do this. But the word Vincennes has just come out. He was interrupted by Curtis's voice behind him. Just listen to him indifferently spit out 5 words. You can go. But these 5 words are like knives, pierced in Vincent's heart. He was careful to avoid Curtis every day, doing all the work they can. Just want to be what they need, even if you stay here as a servant. He was willing to. But the day came. His hand, holding the bowl, trembled unconsciously. Bai Qingqing, who saw all this in his eyes, was also very embarrassed. On the one hand, he felt that it was too unorthodox to just drive away Vincent. On the other hand, it is unreasonable to let him stay. Vincent was not his companion. You can't live forever. That's when Vincent spoke. He hung his head. Whisper if I can take the hides you gave me. Qingqing listened. Immediately, he nodded in affirmation. Of course. Vincent watched Qingqing's reaction. smiled knowingly. Thank you to him for comforting himself in my heart. That's enough. Qingqing looked at Vincent smile. It's not even more delicious in my heart. He owes it to him. And what can a piece of animal skin pay off? He hung his head guiltily. Don't dare to look him in the eye. That day, Vincent rolled up the hides and left. It's still that vigorous. There doesn't seem to be any nostalgia. After that, the weather gradually warmed up. The snow and ice are also starting to melt. Qingqing always looked at Vincent's snowman in a daze. I always felt a little sad in my heart. Maybe that's the difference. Behind him, Parker's voice rang out. What are you looking at? Bai Qingqing said that he was watching a snowman. Parker immediately put his arm around Qingqing's shoulders from behind. Watch with her. Qingqing held his cheek razor. Is it my delusion to ask questions? Why? Vincent's snowman seems to melt faster. Parker thought for a moment. Answer yes. Yesterday, suddenly Curtis appeared behind him. Interrupted Parker's. Let's have breakfast. Bai Qingqing turned his head and replied, okay. That's it. It was interrupted by the sound of wolf laughter coming from the center of the city. Bai Qingqing hurriedly asked, This is the signal of the Yuan King to call the female. What's the matter? He frowned and said, Anyway, I'm too lazy to go this time. But Parker was very excited and said no. I must go. It must have been rice seeds. The seeds are sent according to the female. 1 bowl per female. But only the male will not be able to receive it. Bai Qingqing listened. A look of surprise. Follow-up asked, It's so good to send seeds. Is it free? Parker explained that there is such a large tribe as Longevity City. It will be distributed free of charge every year. Curtis was tempted by it. Immediately stepped forward to say Xiaobai. We feed the little snakes. Parker argued unabashedly. Qingqing wants to accompany me to get the seeds. Curtis told Parker to go on his own. Parker said no. You have to quit your interest to be able to. So the two men stared at each other again. Qingqing was speechless and died. The heart is bitter. Quarreled again. What can I do? What exactly happened? Even his own son is handsome to make this snake angry. Just now, Bai Qingqing wanted to be able to get rice seeds. Or decided to go to Yuan Wang Fort with Parker. He asked Curtis to take care of the little snake at home. He promised Curtis that he would come back with the seeds. Locally playful. But Curtis doesn't agree with me going with you. Take the little snake with you. Bai Qingqing was very worried. I'm afraid that the little snake will run outside and won't find it. What if you are bitten to death by an orc as a wild snake? Don't wait for what Curtis is saying. Bai Qingqing took the lead and said, That's it. Here we go. Bye. Curtis saw Qingqing take Parker's hand and leave. The expression immediately went wrong. He looked at Qingqing's distant back. He stood still for a long time. Why can't Xiaobai even keep cubs? The more Curtis thought about it, the angrier he became. He hung his head and gritted his teeth hard. Even the snake's body trembled with anger. The little snake in the basket felt the vibration. Poke your head out to see what's going on. Just when the little snake was curious about what happened to his father. Suddenly feel like your body is losing gravity. Then he fell headfirst to the ground. Followed by all the older brothers and sisters were thrown to the ground. It turned out that Curtis took it, because to take care of the little snake. Can't go out with Bai Qingqing. Curtis put it all in a rage. Sprinkled on these innocent little snakes. The little snake that was thrown to the ground immediately scattered in fright. Well, Dad is so fierce. Mom, I want Mom. Curtis. His face glared at these little burdens like ashes. Suddenly, his eyes fell on the rickety bamboo basket on the ground. He immediately rushed to the bamboo basket with a panicked expression. He hugged the bamboo basket tightly. I thought I was lucky not to break it. This is made up by Xiao by himself. The gate of Hades on the other side. There are many orc families who have come to soak the seeds. One family stands out. The male orc man threw his head up proudly. The female even wrote her pride directly on her face. all because they were holding a little girl. Qingqing asked Parker in a low voice, "Is that a baby female?" Parker looked at the baby girl. There was envy in his eyes. "If only we could have a hen." Then, the baby girl babbled and opened her hand to Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing immediately waved her hand excitedly at the baby girl. He loves to play. Soon the baby's actions caught the attention of his mother. The female looked back. It was in my heart. The skin they spoke of was as white as snow. A beautiful new female. I thought it was an exaggeration. Now it looks like it's true. But soon the female's eyes became light. He snorted coldly. I can't help but so what? I gave birth to a female. Forthwith. Also remind the male orcs on the side to take care of the baby. It's as if I'm afraid that the baby will be abducted by Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing was speechless and died. But when you think about it, there are too few females in this world. No wonder the female was so proud. And as far as we know so far, there is only one female baby in each child. And male babies have 3 or 4 litters. There are even a dozen or 20 snakes. Go on at that rate. The male-to-female ratio is only going to get worse. It seems that a female is good or not here. It depends on whether he has ever given birth to a female. Slowly, everyone entered the main hall. Hades sat on the stage. Everyone has arrived. Now start seating. Soon it was Parker's turn and Bai Qingqing's turn to distribute it. Orcs, pour a bowl of in-shelled grain into Parker's bag. The two of them were about to leave. The orcs saw Bai Qingqing. Eyes light up, then immediately stop him and wait. Those who gave birth to cubs in the previous year can receive an extra bowl of millet. After saying that, he turned around and went to dig another bowl. Qingqing and Parker were very happy to see that they could get an extra bowl. But when the millet was brought over, Parker sighed, "Yes, I knew it wasn't that good. Go straight to me." As he spoke, he reached out and took it. Qingqing on the side stared at Yiguzi and looked carefully. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. "Wow, it's wheat. I don't like you for me." This is since Bai Qingqing crossed. It's the first time to reject a person so firmly. Just now, Qingqing and Parker came to help. It is merit to give birth to the seed position of pollen rice. Gave an extra bowl of wild valley. If you look closely, you will find that this wild millet is wheat. Bai Qingqing's eyes lit up suddenly. It's like seeing noodles, dumplings, buns, and steamed buns, all in front of you. But strangely, why didn't anyone bother to grow it here? Haven't you eaten it? That's because although wild millet and rice look alike, but it's not tasty. Parker's words made Qingqing feel unconfident. "I've eaten it," Qingqing said, twisted one and looked at it carefully. I muttered in my heart that it was wheat, yes. Could it be barley? Parker secretly said in his heart that Qingqing was too easy to raise. More casual than my mom. And then on. My mother scattered all this grain on the ground. When you taste it, when it is ripe, there will be small birds to eat. Then I took the opportunity to catch birds. Along the way, Parker tells Qingqing interesting stories from his childhood. Bai Qingqing listened with relish. Imagine baby Parker catching a sparrow. Can't help but laugh out loud, ha ha. By the way, how did your mother make wild grain? The females here are so obsessed. Parker explained to Qingqing with a serious little expression. Generally, the rice is boiled in a stone pot and drunk. The water from which the rice is boiled has a taste. The water boiled from wild millet is as unpleasant as medicine. Qingqing was speechless. No wonder you find it unpalatable. Wheat should be ground into flour. That's how you can make delicious noodles. He asked again, "Don't you have any other way to eat it?" Parker looked at Qingqing with strange eyes. "How else can you eat? Herbivorous orcs seem to like to eat it raw. Do you like it too?" Qingqing's embarrassed smile was certainly not. "By the way, is wild millet easy to grow?" Parker said, "Just sprinkle it in the ground. It can grow like grass. You just need to collect it." Bai Qingqing asked, a little embarrassed. "Then I still want to grow wild millet." Okay, don't wait for Parker's answer. I heard a voice behind me. Of course, Hades said as he walked over to the two of them. Qingqing's suspicious expression. I asked again if it was really okay. Hades immediately said to everyone, anyone who wants to grow wild millet, you can come to me and get it. Bai Qingqing immediately said that he would return it to Hades when the harvest was over. Next up is Bai Qingqing and Parker. I came to the place where the sewerage planning class was held. Suddenly heard, there was a baby crying behind him. When I turned around, I saw a female orc, just a generous milk child. Are the females here so unrestrained too? I'd better go out and breathe. Qingqing, who was studying seriously, whispered, I'll wait for you outside. Parker thought about the males who came today. It's all people who have a partner. There was no blocking. It's just that Qingqing is not out of Yuanwang Fort. Bai Qingqing tiptoed out of the main hall. Get outside and get some fresh air. By the way, Yan. Suddenly, the eyes were attracted by something. She looked at the tree in front of her. It just feels very familiar. Don't wait for him to think deeply. Suddenly, I heard someone behind me calling for me. As soon as he turned around, he saw Hugh waving enthusiastically to himself. It's been so long. Hugh couldn't help but be shy when he saw Bai Qingqing. Long time no see. I don't wait for Hugh to finish. Bai Qingqing interrupted him. Don't look for me in the future. Let's pursue it with a different female. The time of cultivation froze the smile on his face. I only felt my heart struck by lightning. He grabbed Bai Qingqing's hand like crazy. Ask why you don't like me. Qingqing looked at Xiao's eyes fiercely. Seriously, yes. I do not like you. Have you ever wondered? Peach Blossom luck is actually a kind of annoyance. The front foot just guiltily sent away a white tiger. On the hind foot, he encountered the wolf beast that had been pursuing him. Bai Qingqing in order to cut off Hugh's hope. Make it clear that you don't like him. Hugh was struck. He looked at Bai Qingqing silently for a while. Bai Qingqing turned his head. I couldn't bear to look at Hugh's lost expression. After a while, Hugh said, You can refuse me, but you can't stop me from liking you. Bai Qingqing was speechless. I just don't want to dwell on it anymore. Hurriedly supported him, Dao Yuan King. Give us a bag of wild grain. You can help me get it. Xiao immediately responded happily. You are here and waiting. I'll go right away. After saying that, he was excited. Ran away. Seeing Xiao finally leave, Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a leaf fell from front of my eyes. Qingqing immediately looked up. I saw a black eagle standing there on a branch. Black Eagle's sharp eyes also looked at Qingqing. Qingqing and Black Hawk looked at each other for a second. Suddenly, it was not good. No, he saw it. This place should not be stayed for long. Slipped away. On the other side, Xiao asked all the way. Finally found the location of the Yuan King. He was panting and stopped at the doorway to adjust his breathing. Suddenly, a sentence came to his ears like a thunderbolt from the sky. Do you really want to kill Bai Qingqing? He looked through the crack in the door. I saw that King Yuan was saying to the Wolf King that I didn't kill him. It's the Rakshasa to remember. We don't know anything. It's just that the Wolf Clan defense in the castle has been removed. Xiao Xin suddenly felt bad. It's not good to take the defense out. Qingqing is in danger. Come to think of it, Xiao immediately turned around and strode back. The people inside heard the movement. Poke your head out to look. The Wolf King sniffed vigorously. Calmly said that it was repaired. King Yuan remembered that Xiao liked Bai Qingqing. Immediately, his brows furrowed. Go and stop him. He must not be allowed to say so. The Wolf King did not hesitate at all. Respectfully bowed to the command. At this time, Bai Qingqing was already lost. He was hesitant to ask someone for directions. Suddenly, I saw someone in front of me. He took a closer look at the man approaching him. He was surprised to find that he was actually a male of the Tiger Clan. He plucked up the courage to say hello to him. But the man acted as if he hadn't heard. Walked straight past him. At the moment when the male orc walked by, Bai Qingqing felt a strong sense of oppression. He pricked up his ears. I heard the man's footsteps seemed to be getting farther and farther away. The tense nerves immediately relaxed. He let out a long sigh. I thought it was okay. It was just a false alarm. However, the next second, a large hand suddenly came from behind, tightly covered him. He struggled in panic to escape from the restraints. But soon the hand was also tightly controlled. Bai Qingqing suddenly felt the threat of death. He closed his eyes. Call Curtis in your heart. Saving me from fear made him crave strength intensely. Suddenly, a familiar red light lit up at his ankle. Qingqing felt a tightness in the mark on his tongue. Suddenly, a large force surged up all over his body. He struggled to break free from his hands, locked the man's neck, then used all your strength to twist it vigorously. The man's face turned pale, protruding eyes, with a click of broken bones. Qingqing was so frightened that he immediately let go of his hand.